meeting tonight on May 18, 2020. And I have some important notice regarding the May 18 commission meeting tonight that I'd like to read. This meeting is being conducted utilizing teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with State of California Executive Order N2920 dated March 17, 2020 regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. The live stream of this meeting may be viewed on television and or online. In accordance with Executive Order N2920, the public may only view this meeting on Millbrae Community Television Cable Channel 27 or online at www.mctv.tv. The public cannot come to the Millbrae Council Chamber to join this meeting, as this is a remote meeting with no public location. Submission of public comments. For those wishing to make public comments at the May 18, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, please submit your comments by email to be read aloud at the meeting by the planning administrator. Email comments must be submitted to planningcom_meetings@ci.millbrae.ca.us. All email comments must be submitted prior to 7 p.m. All email comments shall be subject to the same rules as would otherwise govern speakers at the commission meeting. Electronic comments for the May 18, 2020 commission meeting may only be submitted via email. Comments submitted via text message and social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor will not be accepted. The planning administrator shall read all email comments, provided that the reading shall not exceed 3 minutes or such other time as commission may provide, consistent with the time limit for speaker at a regular meeting. This email comment submitted shall become part of the record of the commission meeting. Now we have to come to the order with the Millbrae Planning Commission meeting. We'll be conducting the meeting today via a virtual setting using Zoom. Commission members and staffs are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live tonight on Millbrae Community Television Cable Channel 27 and online on the Millbrae Community Television website, www.mctv.tv. These are the unprecedented time, and so if you can have a roll call, please.
Chairman Fung,
Present.
Commissioner Joe,
Present.
Commissioner Quigg,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
All present and accounted for.
Thank you, Bernadette. So can we have the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag, please?
Pledge of allegiance
Allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag
of the
of the
United
of the United States of America and to the republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands, one nation,
under God,
God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so very
Sitting
much.
down doesn't mean people are protesting the anthem.
No, we would just, no, I explained that, yes, last time.
Okay, so we're on to the agenda. Does any commissioner have any agenda review that they'd like to bring up at this point?
No.
Nothing from Commissioner Joe? Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff updates if we have any.
I just wanted to provide a quick staff update regarding the building staff. The city of Millbrae is contracting with WC3. We weren't able to schedule an introduction tonight, but in the next hearing, we will have an introduction to the building official for the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Malter. Anything else on the staff update? Is that it? Okay, so moving on to item number 5, which is the meeting minutes. I wish all commissioners have had a chance to read over the meeting minutes, although I understand some of them have exceeded 9 months since we had the meeting.
You would have probably had them 3 months ago. at least.
Yeah, so, it would be nice to get these meeting minutes a little bit closer to the time soon after we ended it, but here we are. So we caught up all the way to the 2nd of March, 2020. Bernadette,
That is correct.
thank you. Let's start with August 19th of 2019. Anyone?
I have a question on that one.
Commissioner Quinn?
Yes, under parking, it's a little cumbersome in reading the paragraph. I just wanted to know how anybody else felt about it, because it quotes me and then it talks about the state maximum and XXX, and then we've got Davis. So to me, it would seem like maybe that state maximum paragraph would be first, and then it would have my comments and Davis' comments.
I can switch that around for you.
Thank you. That's the only comment I have on that one.
I was not present at that meeting, so I'll be abstaining.
Okay. Commissioner Joe will be abstaining from this particular. Ms. Davis, Mr. Wong,
I move to approve.
I'll second.
from Commissioner Davis. We have a second from Commissioner Quinn, and we're ready for your roll call.
Just
Bernadette?
a moment.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
While we're waiting for Bernadette, perhaps we can just raise our hands rather than doing this 9 times with a roll call.
That would work for me as well.
I don't think everybody can see the hand. Well, we can just do a voice vote. How about that?
Okay.
So on the motion to approve, August 19, 2019, for me is a yes. Ms.
Yes,
Quick,
Yes,
Ms. Davis,
yes,
Mr. Wong,
Abstain.
4-0.
I-
I'm sorry, Ms. Joe, I assume you're abstaining. I'm sorry.
I thought I heard Commissioner Wong say he's
Okay.
abstaining, but
I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
What
that's, Commissioner Wong,
I do have to
Commissioner Wong,
say
you vote
that
one more time.
abstain.
I'll abstain. Okay.
You did.
I do have to say that a lot of these deliverables or the notice came out really late on Friday. I had to pick and choose what I was reviewing for this weekend, so I really had very limited time, and these are really like major development plans that were enrolled on Friday, so I had to pick and choose what to go over. Would like to have more time to review thoroughly some of these materials and get them earlier, so for that reason, I'm abstaining on these meeting minute approvals.
Are you abstaining just the August 19th, 2019, or all of them, Commissioner Wong?
All of them, I haven't had a chance to thoroughly go through them.
Okay. And Commissioner Joe, how do you vote?
I said that I was abstaining, so if you want me to, can I vote
Okay,
on?
very well.
Yeah, because I wasn't there.
No, so if you're abstaining, that's fine. Okay, if you're abstaining, that's fine. So we got 3 votes for yes, 2 abstain. September 16, 2019?
I don't
That
have any
is-
to
comment,
approve.
and I second.
3 to approve, 2 abstain. Pass.
I'm sorry. So you talking about Bernadette, you were referring to the August 19?
That is correct, sir.
Yes, yes. 3 green votes, 2 abstain.
Okay.
And for September
thank you.
16, I heard a motion. Thank you, Bernadette.
Yes.
I've heard a motion from which commissioner?
Davis,
Second from Joe.
Okay, Commissioner Davis. Joe,
Are
are
we
you
on
ready,
to,
Bernadette?
Yes, I am.
September 16, 2019, Ms. Quibb.
yes,
Okay. Is that your vote or is
Yes.
that?
we have a motion and a
Okay,
second.
great. So that is correct. So I voted yes, Ms. Quibb voted yes. So four yes,
Chairman
one
Fung?
abstain. Yes,
Thank you. You're breaking up a little bit. That's why I'm asking. Chairman Fung,
yes.
you're
My
breaking
vote
up
is
a
yes.
little bit.
Let me try to. I think my headset is running out of battery. Anyway, is that better?
I believe so. I'll know once
Very
you
well.
start talking.
Okay. So for September 16, 2019 is 4 yes and 1 abstain.
That is
We're on to October 7, 2019.
You need to
Anyone?
restart your video if you do. Commissioner Fong.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. October 7, 2019. Anybody have any comments?
I have none and I motion to approve.
a second.
Okay. And we have Commissioner Quibb and we have Commissioner Quibb absent on that day. My vote is yes.
Yes. Commissioner Quick?
I abstain, I was not there.
Okay. Okay. Chairman Fung?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Two, three, four. Why I have 4?
Davis.
There we go. And we vote to pass?
Yes, please. I
Thank you.
think it's more clear that we do the roll call. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's easy to get confused. It might take a little time, but I think it's the appropriate thing to do. Onto the meeting minutes on October 21st, 2019.
Correct.
All
I actually
commissioners.
have, sorry, through the chair. I have actually one comment on this one.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Ms. Joe.
So on the second page for items, at the top of the second page for the 831 Murchison, item 6,
Mhm.
regarding the paragraph that discusses the decision, I see a special conditions B and a special condition D referred to and not a C. I'm thinking that may be referring to the second story, like there needs to be just the wording inserted there. So that's my thought on that. Do you see where I'm at?
I do see where you're at. Let's see.
So I see special conditions B underlined and then some descriptions, and then I see special condition D.
I believe
So maybe the
if I
second
recall
story.
correctly,
Mhm.
C did not have any changes or special conditions. It was
Okay.
to remain. So
Okay.
it was just B and D that had changes.
Okay,
And I believe that it is noted within the, if I remember correctly. Um,
and I was trying to look up the staff report, but I just ran out of time. So
Yeah, I
if
understand.
maybe just some clarification there, if there
Maybe
were-
I can just slip in that C remained the same. Would that be adequate for you?
for me, yes, that would be fine.
Okay,
Thank you. So beyond that, I don't have any other issues, and I'm sure
I will make a
everybody else
note
does.
of that and change that. Thank you, Commissioner
Thank you.
Joe. Okay.
Is that sufficient, Ms. Joe, that to proceed with this?
Yes, so I'll motion to approve it.
Thank
Second,
you. I got a motion from Ms. Joe and I got a second from Ms. Davis.
yep.
Okay, very well, thank you. A roll call, please. Bernadette, go ahead and call everyone. So we can vote.
Commissioner Quigg,
Yes,
Commissioner Fung,
Yes,
Commissioner Wong.
Same.
Thank you.
okay, so it's 4 vote yes, 1 abstain.
Correct.
And now we're on to November 4th, 2019 meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second, I was gonna let other people do it. It's between the two of us. We'll just.
We got a
pass it
lot
off
to
and-
do.
Yeah.
Ms. Joe, I
Yeah,
think you were absent on that day.
yeah, two absent.
Oh,
I was too.
Chairman Fung and Commissioner Joe were absent that day.
Maureen, did you
I'll
make a
abstain.
motion?
I did.
Second?
It was by Commissioner Joe. Commissioner Quigg, your vote, please.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wong,
Same. Sorry, folks.
Chairman Fung.
I abstained because I was absent.
That is correct. Thank you. And Commissioner Joe.
I'm also abstaining.
Thank you.
So we got 2 yes and 3 abstain.
That is correct.
So are
does
they,
this-
Yeah, so it's still approved. Now we're on to December 16, 2019.
That is correct. Do we have a motion or corrections or notations?
Anyone?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
We got
Second.
a motion. We got a motion from Commissioner Davis and a second from Commissioner Joe. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Quigg,
yes,
Commissioner Wong,
He said he abstained.
Abstain.
and Commissioner, Chairman Fung.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're on to January 6, 2020. Anyone?
Okay.
Move to approve.
We got a
Second,
motion- we got a motion from Commissioner David and a second from Ms. Joe, Commissioner Joe.
Commissioner Quigg,
yes,
yes. Chairman Fung,
Yes,
Commissioner Wong,
Abstain.
thank you.
we're now on to,
Pass. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yes. So we're now on to January 21st, 2020.
Correct.
Any comment from anybody?
I do have one small comment is at the very top of the second page, it shows
Yeah.
the meeting, the date as August 19th. So.
Oh,
Mine says the 21st, I swear.
it does?
mine
Okay,
says
well,
21st as well.
okay, where am I getting this? I downloaded this from the website,
Maybe
so maybe it's been
I can
updated.
send you an updated copy if you'd like.
Totally, I don't need one, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, but
But I
But it
just,
looks
on
fine.
mine it's showing.
but I promise.
It says, what does it say? March 2nd, right?
What?
no, we're on
This is
January 20.
January 21st.
We're on January 21.
21st, 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I scrolled too fast. So I'm talking about the next meeting. This one I have no problem with.
Oh, okay. The March 2nd, the last one.
Scroll too fast.
Mine says the second.
Okay,
Move
have a
to
motion,
approve January 21st.
a motion from Ms. Davis,
Motion from Commissioner Davis. Second,
Second,
Who was that? Okay.
Jean, from Joe, Jean Joe.
You,
Okay, we got a
Commissioner
second.
Quigg?
Joan?
Yes,
Yes. Commissioner Wong?
Abstain.
And I abstained as well because I
Oh,
wasn't, because I absent.
you were absent? Okay, thank you. That's past 3. 3 in favor of.
3 in favor, 2 abstain. Now we're on to March 2nd, 2020. And I
So
do
this is
recognize 19th writing on the back.
we're getting closer.
Mhm.
We'll move expeditiously. Yeah, I did recognize the August 19th on the back as well. But I think it's a simple error that could be
It just needs to be corrected. I don't need
Yeah.
a new copy.
right.
Oh, you're right.
Simple thing. I think we can just correct that on the date.
So besides that,
Yeah, because my copy says March, so maybe it just didn't. The
Yeah,
official
mine-
record will have the correct date.
Thank you, Bernadette. Any other commissioner have comments about March 2nd?
The backside of mine says August 19th.
Yeah,
Yours
Yeah, I
does as well? Okay.
I think we all do.
I will make
Okay.
sure that's corrected on the official file.
so besides that, I move to approve.
Second,
Okay. So we got a motion from Commissioner Joe and a second from Commissioner Davis. How does everybody vote?
Commissioner Quigg,
Aye.
Chairman Fung,
Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Wong,
Abstain.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it for meeting minutes. Thank you so very much. We're on to public communications and reserved for persons wishing to comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda. And do we have any speakers tonight, Bernadette?
Well, we do not have public communications according to the agenda. We will have public comments upon the presentation for 9B.
From 9B, got it.
That is correct.
Okay, so that closes public communications, nothing on the consent calendar either. And nothing on public hearing tonight. So we move on to new business. 9A, informational report on the draft climate action plan. This is informational only.
That is correct. Shelley? Shelley?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just going to put the screen up. One moment.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just a suggestion, if we can have people who are not speaking mute during this time, that'd be better.
Bernadette, can you mute everybody except the presenter?
Yes, let me,
And for those who wish to ask a question or speak, just go ahead and use the raise the hand button. There's a raise your hand feature on the right-hand side. You raise your hand and then the commissioner will recognize you and unmute you. Thank you.
Okay.
Please
All
proceed.
right. Good evening, Chair. Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening, Chair Fung, Vice Chair Quigg, and members of the Planning Commission, and good evening to everyone. I'm really pleased to be able to present an informational report on the draft climate action plan. I'll start with some of the activities that have taken place so far, and then I'll go into background on climate change, greenhouse gases, our baseline year emissions, some of the targets to reduce these emissions, as well as measures, and then I'll go into next steps. So let's start with some of the activities that have taken place so far. I presented an overview of the draft climate action plan on January 31st to the City Council Infrastructure Subcommittee, and then presented an informational report to the City Council on February 25th. The draft CAP, I'll refer to as a CAP throughout, was released to the public in early March on being posted on our website, through social media, through direct emails, through emails to all of our city commissions and committees. And last week, we held a public information workshop to go over the draft climate action plan, and we invited the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee, as well as the Parks and Recreation Commission. These were all going to be held live originally, but we held it virtually last week. And all comments are due by May 29th. And this has been extended 1 month due to COVID-19. The intent of this presentation is to provide you with an overview of the draft climate action plan. And at the end, I'll go over the next steps and timeline. So start with some background on climate change. The challenge of climate change is unprecedented. The Earth's climate system is being destabilized in response to elevated levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And this is primarily from the combustion of fossil fuels for energy use. These greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and then there's 3 human-made gases: hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride. The chart at the bottom shows the breakdown of these gases in 2017. Climate change refers to all aspects of climate, including disruptions to weather patterns, including the shrinking of glaciers, accelerated sea level rise, more intense heat waves, shifts in animal and plant ranges, and changes in the timing of plant reproduction. Climate change is affecting land and water resources, transportation, and human health and welfare across the United States and around the world as well. Over the past 50 years, California, Western Northern America, and other areas have experienced warmer winter and spring temperatures, reduced spring snow levels, as well as earlier snowpack melt and increased wildfires. Avoiding the most severe climate system outcomes will require preventing the average global temperature from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius, and this is relative to pre-industrial levels, and the goal is to limit the warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And these levels were agreed upon in 2016 at the Paris Climate Agreement. The atmospheric concentrations of CO2, carbon dioxide, need to peak below 400 to 450 parts per million and stabilize in the long term around today's levels. And in 2018, the global atmospheric concentration of CO2 passed 407 parts per million. Global greenhouse gas emissions will need to be reduced by at least 45% below 2010 levels by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. So I do a climate action plan. A climate action plan provides local level solutions to reduce emissions, to improve energy efficiency, to promote economic development, and improve the quality of life, as well as promote economic development, if I didn't say that. By adopting a climate action plan, the city is committing to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The city has a long-standing commitment to and implementation of environmental programs, and I'll go over those real briefly. Oops, I'm frozen. Okay, here we go. So I'm having probably some Wi-Fi issues here. So I said I was going to go over real briefly some of the environmental programs. The city's environmental programs and other city activities have helped to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. These activities include installing and expanding electric vehicle charging stations, joining Peninsula Clean Energy, and opting for 100% renewable energy for our city facilities, participating in the Peninsula Sunshare Solar and Electric Vehicle Program, and implementing the 2012 Clean Energy Program for city operations, along with other programs. The city's environmental programs focus on reducing waste, conserving water, saving energy, and preventing water pollution for our residents, our businesses, schools, and for our city facilities. The key components of the environmental programs includes outreach, education, hands-on assistance, and leading by example. A couple examples of that I wanted to point out. If you see the graphic in the right corner, that's our single-use carry-out bag ordinance that was adopted by the city council at that time in 2012. We're the first city in the county to adopt this type of ordinance. Similar, in 2008, the city council adopted the Sustainable Food Service Ordinance. Once again, the first city in the county to adopt it. So we were leading by example. And I just wanted to point out for fun, the picture on the bottom is from one of our Arbor and Earth Day events where we plant trees and do a citywide litter cleanup. Some more background includes that in 2007, the City Council passed 2 climate protection resolutions, the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement, part of the Cool Cities campaign, and ICLEI's Cities for Climate Protection campaign. In 2009, the City Council adopted greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets of 15% below 2005 levels by 2020 and 80% below 2005 levels by 2050. 2005 is the base year, and I'll go into that a little later. The city has been recognized by the Institute for Local Government's Beacon program for its effort to reduce greenhouse gases and won several awards in 2015 and 2016 and can expect to receive more this fall. A draft climate action plan was created to establish policies, to set targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and outline measures to meet the targets. The original intent was to adopt the CAP with the general plan. This would allow for more optimized outreach and environmental impact reporting and funding. Staff recommended that the CAP be adopted ahead of the general plan due to the differences in timing of being adopted and to have CEQA perform, the California Environmental Quality Act, to enable future developments to benefit from an adopted CAP, and I'll go into that later as well. The overall climate policies from the CAP will still be included in the general plan and will be an appendix to the general plan. Staff has been working closely with the County of San Mateo Office of Sustainability, which administers the Regionally Integrated Climate Action Planning Suite program. This is known as RICAPS, in collaboration with and funding by CCAG. RICAPS has helped tremendously with our climate action plan, as well as greenhouse gas inventories through 2015. We're getting preliminary results of the 2016 and 2017 inventories, and it's showing that we have reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 19% for 2017. 2005 is the base year in which all of our inventories are compared to, so that we know how much of our greenhouse gases have been reduced. I'd also mentioned earlier that the adopted target was to reduce greenhouse gases by 50% by 2020. And so you can see we're on our way, and we've actually exceeded that goal by achieving 19%. This is a chart of the city's baseline greenhouse gas emissions from 2005. You can see that transportation is more than half of the emissions in Millbrae. The next largest source and use by sector is building energy use, and that's for both residential and commercial usage. The draft climate action plan sets a new greenhouse gas reduction target of 49% below 2005 levels by 2030. This is in line with SB 32, with an interim target of 32% below 2005 levels by 2025. The CAP includes a prioritized list of actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions with a mix of voluntary strategies and mandatory policies. Many of these strategies are already in place and others are being newly proposed. The CAP is building on our existing programs and contains a total of 42 measures, 24 of which are existing, some that will be expanded, and 18 new measures. Several emissions reductions will come from state and countywide transportation and building strategies. The Climate Action Plan includes background on climate change, baseline inventory emissions, emissions targets, local efforts, greenhouse gas reduction measures, implementation, and monitoring. The CAP basically provides a roadmap for the city to reduce greenhouse gases based on various sectors. These sectors are organized by types of emissions for community and municipal activities. These sectors include energy, which includes water conservation, transportation and land use, solid waste, and the All Sectors program, the Green Business Program, which touches upon all these other sectors. I'm going to highlight measures with each of these sectors real briefly, starting with energy for residential and commercial use. One measure is to start a voluntary program to encourage minimum energy efficiency and water efficiency standards at the time of a building sale and transitioning to a mandatory energy conservation ordinance over time. Continuing to promote participation in residential and commercial energy efficiency programs, encouraging electric panel and equipment upgrades for electrification through incentive and education programs. These are programs that some are in place and others will build over time, including those offered by Peninsula Clean Energy, Bay REN, which is the Bay Regional Energy Network, and PG&E. continuing to promote rebates for water efficient appliances and fixtures, and implementing a residential tree planting program. Next is our transportation and land use sector, increasing electric vehicle ownership through the expansion of electric vehicle charging infrastructure at both public and private facilities, continuing smart growth policy that prioritizes infill, higher density, transportation-oriented and mixed-use development, creating an efficient fleet policy for municipal operations, and accommodating shared electric bikes and scooters that provide last-mile solutions. It's getting people from our transit hub to home and back. Next is solid waste, increasing participation in recycling programs and the weekly collection of recyclables and organic waste to achieve 85%, implementing a zero waste policy for our city's operations, and revising the municipal operations administrative standard procedures for the environmental policy to strengthen our sustainable purchasing procedures. Last is a green business program, and this allows businesses to brand themselves as green by following sustainable practices. The City of Millbrae has 6 certified green businesses, and this includes the City Hall and the library, and we've gone through 3 certifications, and it's a very stringent process. The CAP outlines a path to reducing greenhouse gas emissions from 2005 levels by 47% for energy emissions, 58% for transportation emissions, and 90% for solid waste emissions. The CAP is a living document that will be updated as new technologies and programs emerge. I should also mention that the measures as they were created, some of them they came from the RICAPS program, other CAPs, but what we had in mind were programs and measures that fit into Millbrae in the sense of staffing, budget, and population. This is a new slide, and I wanted to share this as we'll update the CAP with this. It's just interesting to compare the greenhouse gas emissions in the United States, in California, and San Mateo County. And I just wanted to point out a couple of sectors within each of these charts. One, electricity, that's the yellow portion of the charts. For the United States, it's 31%. For California, 21%, and San Mateo County, 14%. Let's look at transportation, the blue section. It's 26% for the United States, 38% for California, and 58% for San Mateo County. The reason I want to point this out is that in San Mateo County, it shows that some of the measures that are being put in place, both locally and countywide, have made a difference in reducing our electricity emissions. This is largely due to Peninsula Clean Energy using renewable energy as well as carbon-free sources, but also to conserving energy in our residential, for us primarily our non-residential sector. And I just think it's interesting to compare, and as these measures are programmed, the chart will shift, but there are measures in place for all of these different sectors. I want to briefly highlight adaptation planning. The measures in the Climate Action Plan help to reduce and stabilize the current greenhouse gases, which is considered a mitigation effort. Climate adaptation involves taking actions to manage risk from climate impacts, such as wildfires, sea level rise, flooding, to protect communities and strengthen the resilience of the economy. So it's adapting to what has already been occurring with climate change and reducing our community's vulnerability. The city has taken action to assess sea level rise and is implementing green infrastructure projects, and we will continue to do this and implement adaptation strategies. I wanted to point out the 2 photos in the bottom of this slide, and this is the recently completed green infrastructure project located near Taylor Middle School. It's a wonderful example of climate resilience. It's showing how flooding can reduce impact on the streets as well as within our system. It reduces pollutants and is a great strategy that we'll continue to do. It also reduces pollutants. Our current activities include conducting public outreach to gain community input through the end of this month and obtaining all these comments by May 29th. And we will incorporate these and finalize the Climate Action Plan. We'll provide a final Climate Action Plan to the Planning Commission on July 6th, and this is prior to performing CEQA. I had mentioned that we were going to perform CEQA. This is estimated to take approximately 4 months, bringing us to early November. The benefit is for future developments to be able to streamline off of the CAP by demonstrating that the projects will be consistent with the CAP. And our last step in all of this is bringing the final Climate Action Plan to the City Council for the first reading. And this is estimated to be on November 11th and for adoption on November 24th. I'll keep this slide up. This shows where to access the draft climate action plan for anyone that may be watching from home. It is on the city's website under Public Works Departments. You can access it through the Sustainable Millbrae page. So there's a couple of ways to get to it. All comments will be due to myself, Shelley Ryder, at sryder@ci.millbrae.ca.us by May 29th. I really appreciate the opportunity to present this information to the Planning Commission, and I'm happy to take any questions now.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Ryder at this point? Seeing none?
Oh, well, I guess I should ask a couple
Yes.
questions. So, Ms. Ryder, what's the, even given that the City Council approved of this plan and requirements? I mean, they wanted to have greenhouse gas emission reductions. Are there any specific state, regional, or federal requirements that we need to meet specific goals?
There are some statewide goals and targets and other requirements that are mostly statewide. However, in order to be able to achieve greenhouse gas reductions in line with other statewide efforts, including carbon neutrality by 2045, and it will be important for the city to adopt a climate action plan and to put these policies in place. So largely it is statewide, but there are other requirements that would be necessary for the city to implement something along these lines.
And then given that if they have the specific requirements, where is the, I guess, the accountability or the measurements? How are these greenhouse gas emissions and the reductions measured and quantified? Are there people taking measurements throughout the city, and that if we do implement specific measures, can we see if they're more effective and certain measures are less effective, so that maybe even we meet our goals before that deadlines?
Right, and it is really important to be able to measure. And so I had mentioned earlier that we work closely with the RICAPS, the countywide program. They have been very good at providing community-wide greenhouse gas reduction inventories. I had mentioned the last one being 2017, where we've achieved 19%. And, you know, some of this is attributable to, you know, countywide actions like Peninsula Clean Energy. Some of it is local. We have transportation that reduced 13% between 2015 and 17. Electricity decreased between about 62% between 2015 and 17. It's largely due to Peninsula Clean Energy, but it's also due to some of the actions that businesses and residents are taking to conserve energy. With transportation reductions, it's largely due to less vehicle miles traveled, to alternative vehicles like hybrids and electric vehicles, as well as more efficient vehicles. So as we implement these programs, we'll be able to tie in where these reductions are coming from through these regular greenhouse gas inventories.
Okay, then one last question is that for these reductions, is there an overall, I guess, landscape or zoning developments? Are you working closely with the city on like tree plantings? And I imagine that in addition to the reductions, a big component would be growth and landscaping across our city. And I'm not a big fan, I'm going to say it all throughout this meeting, I'm not a big fan of palm trees. I'm not sure if they reduce greenhouse gases, and they don't provide windbreaks and shelter for animals as much, and they're not native. So is there a plan for, you know, the city-wide landscaping, and does this fit into the big plans?
Yeah, well, as far as tree planting, a tree ordinance was recently created and will go through the adoption process. It does outline specific trees to plant in Millbrae. I don't think it has palm trees. As far as landscaping, there are certain measures already in place, and that's mentioned in the draft climate action plan, and that's the water efficient landscape ordinance that is triggered through the Cal Green. And so developments need to fall under that depending on their size. Outside of that, this of course is encouraged, but that really would be something I believe that would go through planning and some of the code changes perhaps, if there was an interest there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Fung?
Hi.
Yes. Anybody else would like to?
Commissioner Fung? Hi, this is Jean.
Yes.
So
Ms. Jo?
through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
So one of the things, thank you so much for the presentation. And one of the things that you mentioned was that having this done, the CAP done ahead of the general plan update, one of the benefits would be so that future developments could streamline off the adopted CAP. So can you go a little bit more into that?
Yes, it's really the
Briefly
CEQA
mention that.
process. We were
Okay.
planning to move ahead with the CAP, and then when the general plan was done, have it adopted and go through its environmental process and just the efficiencies that would be gained with that. Due to the difference in timing and the need to keep moving the climate action plan, and in order for future developments to benefit, it was decided to go through the CEQA process. That does provide a 4-month delay to adopting the CAP, but it will be beneficial for any of the future developments that now need to achieve the state's 2030 target of 49% greenhouse gas reductions. And by going through the CEQA process, the future developments can go off of the CAP and not have to achieve it all on their own, so to speak, because the CAP applies widely to all the different sectors. So the benefit is to be able to have them streamlined. They still have to implement measures, and they do need to be in line with the CAP.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. Anybody else at this time? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Ms. Shelley Ryder, for the presentation this evening.
Thank you so much, and good night to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're on to the next business, which is 9B, 1100 El Camino Real. And this is a study session for 1100 El Camino Real, used to be called El Rancho. It's the staff want to give us an update?
Before Chairman Fung?
Yes.
Before you start, I just wanted to disclose that I was
Yes.
Ms. Carrie Williams approached me and asked if she can go over the project a little bit. So we did meet briefly on Friday to just get an overview. I don't have any other connections or relationship with the company itself, but I did speak with them just to get a better overview on the project itself. So just disclosing that.
Thank you for the disclosure, Ms. Jo. Anybody else?
Me,
You asked, I'm sorry.
Catherine.
Yeah, Ms. Quick.
So had a meeting via Zoom with Carrie and got a little bit of background on what to expect for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Quick. Anybody else? No one? Okay, so I also have spoken to Ms. Carrie for about 30 minutes. She has a chance to describe the project to me, but that's the extent of our phone call discussion. Okay, anybody else would like to speak before we proceed with the presentation?
So I would just like to clarify, the purpose of this informational session, and will this be voted upon by the Planning Commission, or does the City Council retain the rights to approve the development? And is there a schedule for approvals and phasing and so forth?
Okay, does the staff want to answer that question, or do you want to wait till the presentation with the presentation itself?
We can address that question. So the question is whether this project would be heard by the city council. Currently, the entitlements for the commission, not tonight, but in the future will involve a lot line adjustment, and design review permit. The council rather may call the project up to the city council level. Similarly, a member of the public may also appeal any decision from the planning commission. So it's very likely that the council could see the project in the near future.
So, Ms. Malta, so it sounds like at this point, this project does not require the intervention or approval from the city council as it stands. Is that correct?
We're still evaluating that. We're still working through some of the details.
Okay. Well, I guess, as the informational session proceeds and in the upcoming months and weeks that we're going to see more information coming out, then these questions might answer itself.
Yes.
Any other commissioner wish to ask any questions before we proceed? Okay. Can I have the staff to proceed with the presentation, please?
Yes. Good evening, Chair Fung and members of the Planning Commission. I am Roscoe Mata, the Planning Manager for the city's Planning Division. I will be giving a brief overview of the project before you tonight, and then I will turn it over to Ms. Robertson, the project planner, who will present the proposed project to the Commission. Before I begin my presentation, I'd like to note that staff has forwarded a letter on behalf of the applicant that points out several procedural issues which are not being considered tonight. Staff and the city attorney are working with the applicant on those issues. And the project before you is a study session, which we're looking to seek input on. So the study session being conducted in order to introduce the project to the Commission and to receive input on the project. This is an informational item and discussion only, and there will be no action on the project tonight. Staff requests the Commission provide input on the following: on the design of the project, the urban design aspects, the building design, neighborhood character, the architecture, and the building and landscape style. The project before you tonight is the redevelopment of the Best Western El Rancho Inn, an existing hotel in the city that at roughly the El Camino Real and Center Street intersection, west of Marino Vista Park neighborhood and the Caltrain train tracks. The next slide, please. The existing site is approximately 6.7 acres, currently occupied by the Best Western El Rancho Inn. The project includes a lot line adjustment and lot merger to create two separate parcels. The main parcel would be 5.5 acres and would contain a 384-unit multifamily residential community. The other parcel would be approximately 1.2 acres and would be the site of a future hotel, which is being negotiated through a development agreement with the city. While the hotel design is not included in this particular project, the applicants are here tonight and will be able to provide an overview of the hotel concept being considered. The project being proposed under the current form, as you can see here, is proposed to be 384 multifamily units, and they consist of several types of bedrooms. You have studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedroom units that range from 508 square feet to 1,360 square feet in size. There's a total of 560 parking stalls, 11 of which are unassigned, and these parking stalls will be unbundled from the main units. There's also a transportation demand management program that will reduce vehicular trips. And the amenities in this project include courtyard areas with a pool and spa, community lounge area, fitness center, resident mail lobby with parcel lockers, bike storage and a bike kitchen, as well as a leasing office. And with that, I will now turn it over to Ms. Robertson, who will present the rest of the project.
Thanks, Roscoe. So this study session is being conducted in order to introduce the project and to provide an opportunity for the public, staff, and the applicant and the commission to receive information and conduct discussions on topics related to the design. The study session is only informational and will not include action on the design review permit for the projects. The project site is located in central Millbrae near the Marino Vista Park neighborhood, less than a quarter mile east of Green Hills Park. The site is the current location of the Best Western El Rancho Hotel on El Camino Real, the southeast intersection of Center and El Camino Real. The proposed application involves a lot line adjustment, lot merger, and possible master sign program for the redevelopment of a 6.7 acre site currently occupied by the El Rancho Inn. The applicant proposes to demolish all existing structures and construct a new 5-story, 384 unit multifamily apartment community on approximately 5.55 acres, of which 5% or 19 units will be at the very low income affordability level. The applicant is also considering the future development of a 7-story hotel on the remaining 1.2 acres of the project site. In order to give you a little bit of a background of the application process to date, this slide illustrates the project application timeline. The applicant has submitted 3 formal submittals, each with various rounds of comments from staff. The current proposal is presented to you today as the applicant and staff continue to work through the project review phase. Our presentation will provide key elements of the proposal for which we would like further communication and feedback from the commissioners. So the first formal submittal application was July 12th, 2017. And this is for a planned development, including a hotel, residential, and commercial area submitted by Anton. The application was deemed incomplete and with deficiencies. At this proposal level, the first round included 218 residential units with 4 floors. The second, which was withdrawn by the applicant, included 152 hotel keys, 6 floors, 4 floors of which were hotel, 2 floors were podium parking, and then a 326 stall vehicle parking garage. On February 14th, 2018, the second formal application with revised site plan of new plan development was submitted. This round included 237 residential units, again on 4 floors. This was withdrawn by the applicant, which was the hotel of 159 rooms. Again, it had 6 floors, 4 of which were hotel, 2 of which were podium parking. 326 stall vehicle parking garage was also included in this development application. The third submittal, which was submitted on May 15th, 2019, was a formal submittal and all previous applications were withdrawn. This application, again, omits the hotel, the commercial, and the planned development components of the application. So with this current submittal, there were 384 residential units, of which 5% or 19 units were in the very low income affordability. There were a 560 stall vehicle parking garage, which was 5 floors, and then there were an adjusted 72 biking spaces. That brings us to today's most current application, which was resubmitted on April 6, 2020. It's the most recent submittal. The city and the applicant are currently negotiating a development agreement allowing the residential and hotel to move forward concurrently. Right now, we're looking at 384 residential units, of which 5% or 19 units are still in the very low income affordability bracket, 560 stall vehicle parking garage, and we're currently waiting for an applicant to submit plans for a 150 to 200 key hotel.
So, sorry, Linda, if I may stop you for just 1 second, back up a little bit. So they're looking for a development agreement. Does it mean that it's requiring a legislation to happen?
It's not required in the legislation for that to happen, no.
But it's a developer agreement between the city and the developer, is that correct?
Right, that's what we're working towards.
And that does not require council intervention? Sounds a little surprising to me.
I believe that's what's still being negotiated.
Okay, got it. All right, so, all right, please continue, sorry.
Sure. So the first slide, we'd like to discuss, the first item we would like to address is urban design and how the proposed design addresses connectivity, specifically for the pedestrian and bike users. This slide provided shows the location of the site and its relationship to key city assets, nearby parks, greenways, and the BART station. A key benefit noted in the proposed design is its proximity to transit. However, access from the site itself limits pedestrian and bike access to entry points from El Camino Real and Center Streets only. The city has grant funding and is actively constructing improvements to these key connections. This is an opportunity to build off of those investments and integrate bike and pedestrian circulation more fully into the infrastructure. So what we're showing here with this slide is this is the site. This is Center Street. Our key assets are a new pedestrian and bike pathway. This is a green belt that runs along the train tracks connecting to the BART station. Then we have a park and school located in this vicinity. This is showing the park. We also have connections to downtown core commercial zones, and we like to actually see more connectivity for bike and pedestrian and integrated so that they can have easy access from this parcel to all of these other key elements. Again, noted is the pedestrian and bike greenbelt, the BART and Caltrain and Samtrans connections, and the downtown commercial center. Areas of improvement, we would like to see how this can enhance the pedestrian experience to these surrounding amenities.
Oh, excuse me, Linda, going back to that last slide.
Commissioner Wong, you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
On that last slide. Right there. Is there a thoroughfare for bikes if they wish to bike to the BART station on the other side of the east side of the railroad tracks?
Currently, no. This property is owned by the PUC. We have an existing bike and pedestrian zone. What we're looking at is the permeability through the site from the site itself. Right now, the only way that you can actually access other areas is through Center Street and El Camino Real.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. This slide is presented in order to make this an area, a more inviting place to walk. Some proposals include new medians. This would provide opportunities for green infrastructure and management of natural drainage systems, which is something that we're promoting and integrating with the county. It encourages more green spaces and public spaces and improves the aesthetics of the street generally. We're looking to encourage all users by providing ADA connectivity. We want to improve the pedestrian comfort and safety by including wider sidewalks, which make room for more activity on the street, creating more vitality. The new bulb outs would reduce the distance a pedestrian would have to spend in active traffic right of way. So it kind of narrows down those points and it's easier for pedestrians to get from one side of the street to the other. We'd also encourage underground power lines and promote discrete, well-placed utility boxes. We'd like to enhance some landscape features. This would include improved street furnishings such as lighting, trash, and benches. And this is an effort to provide a unique design specific to this neighborhood and create a sense of place. The next series of slides illustrate a combination of elements, primarily dealing with the way the mass of the building fits into the local neighborhood. Does the architecture make sense with the surrounding buildings? We would like to discuss the effects this proposed design may have on the surrounding uses and overall goal of the city to encourage users to walk, bike, and use public transit. We would specifically like feedback on the use of stoops or connected stoops to individual apartment units and the relationship of the sidewalk to the building. So this slide, we wanted to note the relationship again between the sidewalk and the planters. The way that this building meets the sidewalk is fairly removed. Parcel across Center Street represent a 3-story multifamily housing as well as duplexes. Does that fit in with what this is proposing? The idea of stoops or connected stoops, these are important because they provide opportunities for neighbors to engage with each other. This creates a more vital streetscape. The way that this is currently designed is that the primary entrance into the units is through a lobby, which is also the mail room. And through that, you have to go down a corridor and then you enter from the opposite of the street side. What we'd like to encourage is more activity along this side of the street. Again, it promotes kind of chance encounters, those opportunities where you would meet your neighbor. It presents a prime location for people to walk out their front door and see what's happening across the street. You would engage not only your neighbors, your immediate neighbors and people who live in the building, but also people who are going to BART, also people that live across the street. So that experience is a little richer and it's more, it's more neighborly.
What is your definition of a stoop?
Sorry, can you say that again?
What is the definition of a stoop?
You were breaking up. I'm assuming you said the definition of a stoop.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So a stoop is basically kind of an enhanced doorway. It allows a place, it's similar to what you'd see in New York with brownstones, where you walk out, you have stairs, or you may have a ramp, or they're connected so that you have a common place where people can reach that walkway, but it provides an interaction that's direct to the street. It's kind of like a front porch.
Okay, thank you.
So this slide, it demonstrates what the proposed design shows. Not only is it removing you from the immediate street, but it's from the horizontal connection, but also from the vertical connection. So you do have a grade change, but removing that from the sidewalk, I think that if we could encourage some connected stoops, we may be able to find some mid-ground for balancing the cost of that with the actual design intent. Again, the separation of the pedestrian exists both on a vertical and horizontal plane. It's best to encourage diverse users on the sidewalk and promote, again, those chance encounters. Again, the vitality of the street is what we're trying to encourage. And by doing that, the proposed design is removing those opportunities.
So the sidewalk will be 15 feet, sorry, Linda. The sidewalk looks like it's gonna be 15 feet, 2 feet of landscaping.
Well, this section is taken in an area. We worked with the applicant to provide a larger kind of nodes. One of the problems with this is that they said that it was cost prohibitive to provide stoops. So we worked with them to find opportunities to enhance those areas, to create kind of smaller nodes. This section is taken through one of those areas, but the more I think the more consistent sidewalk width is 5 feet. This is just with those pockets of enhanced areas, and I can show you that on the plan set.
And you say that there's a retaining wall, where is it?
This is a planter wall. It acts as a retaining wall.
So this will be fronting El Camino Real.
This is along Center Street.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, the way the way that the site slopes is from the back down towards Center Street.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So this next slide again shows how the building design is kind of inward facing. The design and site layout projects the residents and users inward toward the shared common spaces rather than facing outward. So it again is an opportunity that is focused more towards the interior spaces. But again, you have this wall that doesn't create a permeability from this direction. We're not trying to encourage people to walk through this space into private property or to someone's apartment, but just having that visual connection to something beyond does bring a little more enhanced green space. It makes it feel like there's a more enriched environment for the entire neighborhood. So this slide illustrates how the rear of the wall of the parking garage will appear at the side of the parcel facing the rail line. Staff would like commissioners to discuss and provide feedback on this proposed design mass and the relationship it presents to the adjacent landscapes and the rail commuters. So this illustration doesn't give enough information about it, what exactly is happening along this backside. We did work with the applicant to provide a little more interest on this back wall. They did provide some panels, but it's not creating that opportunity that we were looking for, and we were hoping. We feel like, is this a missed opportunity to engage with the train commuters and provide interesting night lighting that would enhance safety and also promote some art. So this is one area that we'd like to focus on a little more. Just again, instead of turning its back on the train tracks, maybe we could think about welcoming the train track, creating something interesting in a light or art that as the trains go by and they pull into Millbrae Station, that it might create some interest and attraction to what's going on in Millbrae. This section, you can see how again, those planters create that kind of wall. We need to get more information. I'm sure it's in the set, but maybe one of the designers can give us an exact height of this elevation from the finished grade to the top of this wall. But again, you can kind of see it from a different angle, how it just separates this building and all of the residents from this sidewalk. Again, we just wanted to point out, you want to note the easy access from the sidewalk street into the building. This is a very realistic perspective, but if you look down the block, this doesn't quite create that same vitality and inviting space that you would see pedestrians as you do here. Commissioner Fong, I think that what we were talking about, you can see how this sidewalk is consistent. That's a 5-foot sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
We have these enhanced little pockets.
Yes.
But again, it's just one section. The consistency of this sidewalk would be 5 feet from all the way from El Camino to the railroad tracks. So this slide, we wanted to point out, this is the elevation along Center Street. So if you look at this kind of smaller area map, you can see where this section is taken, the elevation is taken from this point. That you're looking at this direction. So this is what you would see if you were on the street intersecting Center Street. I wanted to note the building design and materials. Does this do enough to evoke a sense of California Spanish style architecture? Is this something that is consistent with what we see in Millbrae and what we want to see in Millbrae? This section, this elevation also gives you a kind of a better understanding of the relationship between what it would really be like to be standing on that sidewalk and have this wall of greenery. We also want to think about, what if this planting dies? If this disappears, what would that look like for the city? Would we be in a position where we would end up with just a wall with no plantings, no softening, no landscape?
Is it a 5-story building, or is it a 5-story over podium?
It's a 5-story building. The parking is in the garage.
So it's 5-story, possibly with frame construction.
That would be a question for the architects.
Yeah. Okay.
So this slide is, again, another perspective. It's a photo simulation of what the structure would look like. This is on, I believe it's Los Alamos, the street. It's along Center Street. But here you can see the existing 3-story residential apartments and some commercial, and you're looking towards the building facade. Sorry, it's San Anselmo. So in summary, I'd like to say that staff would request that the commission conduct the study session to provide direction to the project applicant and staff for the consideration of the design review application for Anton Millbrae Development Project at 1100 El Camino Real. Staff requests input on the following project components: the fiscal impact, the loss of the hotel, and the timing of the occupancy for the new hotel, the integration of proposed site into the existing neighborhood, the impacts of the connectivity to existing assets, BART, downtown commercial corridor, and Lomita Park School, as well as the architectural design and building style.
No, I don't, sorry, Mr. Robertson, I don't see a financial impact report just yet, so this is yet to come.
Yes, I think we're looking at the fiscal impacts of the loss of the hotel, the existing Best Western.
Right, so the loss of the hotel, of the current TOT, along with, you know, what the expectation would be should the new hotel be built and operational. Obviously, there's more detail to it, but I assume the financial impact analysis on that has not been submitted as part of this application. Is that correct?
Correct, from what I understand. And again, we're working with a lot of moving targets these days. So
right.
I think that just to keep that in mind, that discussion is still open and there's still information that we need to get.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we could just open it up to discussion.
I believe the applicant is here also to present.
Yeah, does the applicant wish to make a
Oh,
presentation?
pardon me, I forgot. Yes, the applicant, I believe, has some presentation.
Okay, so at this point, does any commissioner wish to have any questions for the staff at the moment before we bring on the applicant?
No, not now.
Okay. Any other, no commissioners wants to ask any questions at this point? Okay, we can save it till later. Can we have the applicant, please?
Good evening, Chairman Fung and members of the Planning Commission. This is Andy Davidson. I'm the managing partner for Anton Development for Development and Construction. And I'm excited to present this project to you tonight. And I want to thank you all for your time to hear us out and provide your input. We're very much excited to be a part of the Millbrae community and very much excited to get your remarks tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson.
So as mentioned, Anton Millbrae is at 1100 El Camino Real, and it is currently the Best Western El Rancho Inn, and we are looking forward to taking the site and kind of upgrading it whilst keeping the nostalgia of the Best Western that has been so special to the city. So Garrett, if you could go on to the next slide. Just real briefly about Anton. For those of you who don't know, we're a California-based real estate developer. We're an actual owner, operator, and builder. So what I mean by that is not only do we develop it, we are the contractor and we are the property manager and we are the owner. So when we invest in community, we stay there forever. We don't sell. We don't just build and move on. We're a partner with the city. We're a partner with the community, and we really take value of being a member of the community. So these are some of the projects we've done recently throughout the Bay Area, from all the way in Marin, Walnut Creek, Milpitas, Menlo Park, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and now we're working in Millbrae. So earlier in the evening, we were kind of talking about the transit and the walkability and bikeability of the site. As you can see here in blue, that's the project site. And you have the bike path to the train tracks. You have the walking along El Camino Real. You have a couple bus stops. So we really are excited about the site because of the location to the transit and to downtown, the walkability and the bikeability, which plays nice to the climate action plan we heard earlier tonight. So we're excited to hear about that because I think our interests are very well aligned in that.
Sorry, Mr. Davidson, sorry to stop you for a second there. If you go back a couple slides where you show some of the previous projects.
Yeah, go ahead.
So are these all apartment complexes or?
Yes, sir. Yes, so we specialize only in for rent multifamily. We specialize in both affordable housing and market rate.
But there's no hotel component in any of these.
No, correct. We're actually working with a partner on that. The folks operating the current El Rancho are our partner on the future development.
So the current operator of El Rancho is partnered with you on the future component of the hotel.
Yes.
Okay.
So here are a couple pictures of the existing site, as you all very well know it. You'll notice there's a lot of two-story buildings. The buildings are kind of getting old into the end of their useful life. You've got the power lines in the one picture. We'll be undergrounding the power lines. You got a lot of surface parking, a lot of pavement. But at the same time, it's a very special site, and we recognize that, and we want to really pay homage to that as we work through the building of the new community. And so to speak a little bit more about the hotel, as I mentioned, we have a partner, that's Springboard Hospitality. They have 30 years of hotel and resort experience. They operate all over the state of California. They operate in Hawaii and other places throughout the nation. But the key to the hotel is that we have to be business ready. So what that means is we have to basically have the entitlements behind us, have the environmental document behind us, and be immediately ready to go to design review and construction documents with the hotel. We have many letters of interest from Marriott, Hyatt, and others, but until we're there, they will not fully engage and move forward. So that's why we want to get going on the entitlement as we have it in front of you tonight. Some of the key project benefits you'll see here. Obviously, much needed rental housing near transit. We've discussed that. Redevelopment of the underutilized site. But one of the big things we want to talk about is we're providing 19 very low income housing units, which, as you all know, is very difficult to provide. And we're tapping into our experience as affordable housing developers to bring that to this community because we know how important, affordable housing is. We're also going to activate Center Street. And I just want to clarify, our application did have a 5-foot sidewalk in the beginning, but it actually has an 8-foot now. We were meeting with Tom and Roscoe, and we wanted to widen that to really engage that bike path. So that's actually an 8-foot sidewalk along Center Street now. And then, of course, we're going to, have highly sustainable construction, which again ties in nicely to that climate action plan we were hearing about earlier. So here's just some of the stats. You've heard about 384 new apartments, studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, 19 very low income units. That's 5% of the project, which of course helps meet the RHNA requirements. And so one of the things we really strive to do is make our community somewhere that our residents not only live, but they play, they spend their time, they enjoy their neighbors. And so you'll see that we're really trying to build a resort style living for them. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our design team and let Fred Metzger from KTGY walk you through the architecture.
Great, thank you, Andy. Actually, we're back one slide, is that right? There you go. So yeah, and again, these are just some of the inspiration we were looking at. Again, the old rancho was mission style.
Just a minute, excuse me. Are people having difficulty hearing as much as I am? A lot of feedback there.
Bernadette, you trying to say something? I think you're muted. Bernadette, I think you are muted.
I don't hear Bernadette.
I'm unable to, he's breaking up constantly. I cannot
Yeah.
understand him.
Mr. Metzger, I think, we're having a little hard time hearing you because your microphone might be breaking up a little bit. Is there a better way you can?
I'm not sure that there's another way for me to.
Yeah, I think it's, Bernadette, can you capture that properly or no? No, you cannot. Yeah, there's a pretty good size breaking up towards the end of your comment there. This is being broadcast live. It will be difficult for us to make sure that our audience gets to hear it.
I understand that. Andy, Garrett, can you guys hear me? Is it just the city?
Now it seems like it's getting a little bit better, Mr.
We're
Metzger.
getting a little bit better.
Okay.
Why don't you try along and we'll let you know if has to repeat it if we couldn't hear you.
Or if there's a microphone or an earpiece that you have that's closer, maybe might help.
I am microphone pretty close right now. This is the way that I call my Zoom calls. But if we can go ahead to the next slide, we'll continue. And if it doesn't work, I think that some of the rest of my team is probably capable of continuing to present if need be. Eric, you want to try the next slide?
Yeah, try to carry on.
Okay, so just to give you guys an idea, and I think you're all very familiar, we do have two street frontages. We front on El Camino Real and we front on Center Street. And directly to the bottom of the page, you'll see it's the San Francisco Water Utility, as you know, and also the railroad. So we do have two main frontages where we can engage in this neighborhood, and two frontages where engagement will be a little more challenging. Parking out the Marina Vista neighborhood, and the neighborhood also out there. So, and again, just here are the multiple access to the site. So you can see that there will be a entry drive off of El Camino Real with a resort walking around. At the end of that entry drive is the main amenity hub. We do have a second entrance off of Center, and we do have a garage entrance down to the other side of Center Street. On the top of the page, the left of the page, you'll see that we do have an EVA path that for fire, of course, but it is also a multi-purpose, multi-use type space. And note that there are also several courtyards included in the project to create open space for inhabitants. Okay, next slide, Garrett. So are you guys hearing me okay now? Is this better?
I think I got about 75% of what you said. I don't know about other commissioners.
Okay, let me keep going, and if there's questions, we'll do a with those for you. So again, you can see that there's 1.7 acres of the site have actually been dedicated to open space. There is a lot of open space provided here. You can see the future hotel being planned on El Camino Real, the main portion of the new residential building. And I think there was a question. It is a 5-story wood construction wrap style building. So you're correct, 5-story construction. The residential garage, which is located closest to the railroad tracks, will be wrapped with residential units. It serves several purposes. Residential units help to screen that garage so that you're not looking at a garage. It also is a good area for these future residents. We've listed some of the amenities that will be provided: fire pit, outdoor kitchen, pet wash, etc. That's it. Next slide, Garrett. There are some images that we've taken from the original El Rancho hotel. And so again, the idea is mission inspired, and as you know, stucco with some natural tones, courtyards and pool courts, deep overhangs for shading devices, some accent colors. And as you can see, looking at the amenity hub, which was designed with that mission in mind, sort of a modern take on what Mission could be. Also note that that is the resort style drive-through, the future pool court and future fountain feature. You'll see a couple of accent areas where we included accent tiles, again, with this Spanish Mission style in mind. Gonna go to the next slide, please, Garrett. Again, so this is a view from El Camino Real.
Mr. Manager,
Yes.
I think we lost you there.
Yeah. Hey, Fred, this is Andy. Maybe we should let Mark kind of walk us through the site since it's so hard to hear you. Mark, you want to take it?
Okay, yeah, I could take it from here. Is that better, Andy?
Yeah, I think we can hear you better.
Yeah, much
Okay.
better.
Good, let
Yeah,
me tell you, so
that-
yeah, my name is Mark Schattinger. I'm a principal with MJS Landscape Architecture. We were the landscape architects for this project. So this view shows the two-story leasing club room building. The rest of the buildings, the residential part of the project is 5-story. But this standalone building is 2 stories with a rooftop terrace. And it's at the terminus of this long processional entry drive. It's going to have enhanced pavers. So it's going to feel very special when you drive by the Hotel Port Cochere and do go around in this motor court. Off to the right, we plan on having sort of like a ride sharing, pickup, meet your friend sort of space around the fountain. And in the spirit of the landscape palette for this Mission Revival, we'll hope to have a little olive grove out there as well. When you pull up, you get a peekaboo view of the pool area, which has this great southern exposure for sun. And, you know, people enjoy seeing other people. They like activation at a property. You know, we always try to put our fitness rooms and our rooftop terraces where people can see them because people want to be with other residents who have like interest as they do. So you have a nice view of the amenities here, and there's additional courtyards behind this building. So if we go to the next slide, this is a view of the pool courtyard, unobstructed from the entry drive, which is awesome. It'll probably be glass fencing around the pool. Palms are totally appropriate with this Mission style. We'll use them, you know, sparingly, but they are appropriate. And there's about 11 palms we're resurrecting from the old El Rancho site. We hope to use them on this project, salvage them. So this is a nice view of the rooftop terrace, 2-story building with the 5-story building in the background. Next slide. So we want to get back to Center Street because I think all the concerns that Ms. Robinson had, we've addressed. We have enlarged the sidewalk to 8 feet, so it feels more spacious along Center Street. There was a request by the staff to bring the street tree closer to the back of curb, so provide some shading for the street and as well. We've upgraded all the materials along Center Street, so the site furnishings, the benches, the paving, they're all upgraded materials, yet they're in the public realm. So it's going to feel like a special city project. There is a tremendous grade change. It's about 11 feet between the finished floor of the ground level units and the apartments to Center Street. We did look at doing some direct connections to what you want to call stoops, but 11 feet's just too much, took up too much space. It wasn't a matter of cost. It was just too much engineering to make it work. We think by doing these 2 terraced walls with a nice enhanced concrete block would be just as decorative going up there. You still have eyes on the street. You just can't walk directly down there from your patio. There's always a bunch of patios all along Center Street. There's just no direct connections until you get past the mid-block lobby, which drops. But you can see we have a nice plant palette. We have street trees, back the street. We carve out spaces. That's the activation for Center Street that we're trying to achieve with, you know, identifying these public nodes with special paving, benches to sit on. We even did a little notch for our utilities that are required for every project. So we think we've hit all the items that Ms. Robinson tried to get us to look at. Next slide. But we're also one of the most important things for the residents across the street. We're also undergrounding the utility lines. And then here, this is back down at grade now. This is the front door for the 300 and, all the units in this project. Every resident's going to come through the same garage entry. So it's really important that this also appears and is as enhanced as the front door off of El Camino Real. And there's the bike parking and the bike kitchen right there. And then here's that perspective view, the same one that was shown earlier. We think, we know we can achieve this with landscaping. We have 30-foot setback from the face of curb on Center Street to the face of building. We have street trees. Right now we're proposing an evergreen tree that gets up about 40 feet. Behind there is a deciduous tree that gets up to about 40 feet. We have palm trees. So we know, and as Annie had mentioned earlier, not only are they developers, but they also maintain the property. So we know that if the plants die, that they're going to be replaced. I was concerned by staff. I'm not concerned about that at all. Anton, all the projects we've done with Anton, they're beautifully maintained. And here's a view where there's one of those penetrations that you were talking about, where you can either go through the lobby into your residential unit, or you can go into the bike kitchen. And this the current view below it. We have committed to making sidewalk improvements all the way to the railroad track. So we're going to extend the 8-foot sidewalk all the way to the railroad track, even though it's off the property. And we also have tall vertical plant material. Right now we're proposing giant bamboo on the property line, as well as a rhythm of Mexican fan palms that are going to screen part of that building as you are on the railroad tracks. Next slide, Annie. Andy, do you want to take this one over?
Yeah, if we could just go back to that last slide real quick. One thing I wanted to mention is the location of the garage was strategically kind of placed on our part because, we wanted to not turn our back on the railroad tracks necessarily. Those comments are well received, and we've tried to enhance the view of the garage from the train tracks. However, we did want to turn the ears of the residents, if you will, away from the train tracks. So that's why we've positioned the garage up along the train tracks so that, those folks in the residential units have that sound blockade from the trains going by.
So just a clarification, that massive structure there next to the train tracks, that is the parking structure, correct?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. And so basically, we're working on, focusing on transit, and we're right in line with the transportation. We've unbundled parking, promotional programs. You can kind of see all of the bullet points here. I don't need to read them all to you, but we've got electrical vehicle parking, which is a big deal nowadays. We're going to have a spot for rideshare within the community. We're adding 269 new trees to the site, recycled water ready, irrigation design, all of the water conserving fixtures and irrigation, and of course, high performance building envelopes will be solar ready. So the site will be very sustainable, energy efficient. And that kind of brings us to the conclusion of our presentation. Again, we're really excited about it, and we're really excited working with the city of Millbrae to move this forward. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to present.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davison. Any commissioner wish to ask any questions for the Anton team? Bernadette, sorry. You muted yourself.
We received some correspondence through the email provided.
So there are public comment with regard to this item, sorry.
That is correct.
How many?
I have 4.
Okay. Please.
Technically, I have 5. I'm sorry, my mistake. We did receive one, Chair Fung, shortly after 7 p.m. And we are wondering if we'd like to include that.
If it's within 3 minutes, I think it's okay.
It is a short email.
Okay, please do.
The first one, it was sent on Sunday, May 17th. It's from Arios, A-U-R-O-S, Harmon. Dear Commissioners, I am a resident of your neighboring town to the north, San Bruno. I'm a frequent visitor to businesses and parks in Millbrae, Safeway, various restaurants, bike routes, and bay trails, and my daily cost of living is affected by the ongoing housing supply shortage, which creates a situation where business and government costs are inflated because workers either pay exorbitant rent or commute in from 3 hours away. I want workers in my neighborhood, from the tech workers at YouTube to the baristas at Starbucks, to the teachers in my neighborhood schools, to the men running the garbage truck, to be able to find housing they can afford that lets them walk, bike, and ride transit to work. I hope you will make choices in regards to this project that maximize the production of new housing, particularly given that this location is just 1 mile, a moderate walk, and minimal bike ride from your transit center and downtown. Best regards. That's the first one.
Okay.
The second is from Pat Garrick. It's pertaining to 1100 El Camino. Dear Millbrae City Council members and Planning Commission, my family and I have been a resident of Millbrae for many years. I am in support of housing for the very low income affordability level. However, I am not in favor of the redevelopment to demolish Best Western El Camino and replace it with a 5-story, 384 unit apartments. I am seriously concerned about the project. There are already too many housing projects currently being built near Bart and Millbrae. This project will add to the traffic burden on the already congested Millbrae Avenue and El Camino Real. The freeway exits in nearby intersections simply cannot handle the dramatic increase in traffic that will occur if redevelopment is permitted. Furthermore, this change will impact density dramatically, which will impact resources and overcrowd local schools. This will highly impact the quality of life and safety of local residents and communities. Can you and your board please take the above into consideration and reconsider this proposal again? Perhaps the project applicant and developer can search for a site in another city to build this project. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully yours, Patricia Lamb.
Thank you.
Okay. This one came actually in 2 parts from a Tony Rodriguez. The first part, he asked some questions. Hello, can you have these 2 questions answered? 1, name of owners of 1100 El Camino, Best Western El Rancho Inn. And number 2, will the 5-story housing unit and the proposed hotel all be built on the same site? Thank you. And the second part that came in was, sorry, my previous email was regarding the design review permit application for 1100 El Camino. Also, if okay, can I submit another question? Does the owner have an idea when the project would go before planning? An idea of a hopeful date to start project? Thank you, Tony Rodriguez, business agent. Number 4, I am a resident and homeowner in the nearby city of San Bruno. I am a frequent visitor to businesses and parks in Millbrae. Safeway, Trader Joe's, Chipotle, and other restaurants, bike routes, and bay trails. And my daily cost of living is affected by the ongoing housing supply shortage, which is a regional issue and cannot be solved by only a fraction of cities. Business and government costs are inflated because workers either pay exorbitant rent to live locally or commute in from 3 hours away. These people crowd the freeways and lengthen my commute, which is a quality of life issue. Creating more jobs than housing is unsustainable in the long term. I want workers in my neighborhood, from tech workers such as myself, to restaurant and grocery store staff, to the police and firefighters and other public servants, to be able to find housing they can afford that lets them walk, bike, or ride transit to work. This project should be a location for a maximal amount of new housing, particularly given how close it is to BART and downtown. Signed, Plymouth Ansbergs, Ansbergs. And the last one is Dear Millbrae City Council members and Planning Commission. My family and I have been a resident of Millbrae for many years. I am in support of housing for the very low income affordability level. However, I am not in favor of the redevelopment to demolish Best Western El Rancho Inn and replace it with a 5-story, 384 unit apartments. I am seriously concerned about the project. There are already 2 other housing projects currently being built near BART and Millbrae Avenue. This project will add to the traffic burden on the already congested Millbrae Avenue and El Camino Real. The freeway exits and nearby intersections simply cannot handle the dramatic increase in traffic that will occur if redevelopment is permitted. Furthermore, this change will impact density dramatically, which will impact resources and overcrowd local schools. This will highly impact the quality of life and safety of local residents and communities. Can you and your board please take the above into consideration and reconsider this proposal again? Perhaps the project applicant and developer can search for a site in another city to build this project. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully yours, Stella Lau. And that was the final public.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Comment.
Thank you, Bernadette, and thank you for all the public comment that came in. Let's start with any commissioner who wished to have a question for either Antoine or the staff. Does anybody? I can't
Hello,
imagine. Yes, hello, as in who?
it's Maureen.
Okay, how you doing, Commissioner Davis?
I'm great.
Yeah, because it's a little tough because I couldn't tell the voice.
I know,
from-
sometimes you can't see everybody. Should we take the presentation off the screen so that there's more real estate to put the people up? There we go.
There we go. There we
Uh-oh.
go. A little bit better.
Okay. Thank you very much, both to staff and to the applicants for your presentations. I'm curious, what sizes will the very low income units be? You know, 0s, 1s, and 2s? What will they be?
Hi, this is Andy again. It'll be evenly spread throughout the mix.
And is there any chance of squeezing in a couple of 3-bedrooms anywhere in there? Rather, to get a few families in the complex?
Yeah, we can take a look at that. 3 bedrooms tend to be pretty difficult in these types of projects.
Yeah.
But it's something we can consider and take a look at.
It's just, we got such great schools and families want to live here, and 3 bedrooms are required for some families. So just, asking that question. That's
Sure.
it now.
We'll get with Fred. His phone works, just his video doesn't. And we'll
All right. Thank you.
Is that it, Ms. Davis?
That's it.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
Well, question.
Commissioner Wong? I got your
Yes,
hands.
I guess so. This is informational now, and it's a great concept. I like all the thought and effort put into this. I guess it's the third design, so there's been a lot of thinking and thought put in. What is the expectation in terms of feedback that they want, given that this is just conceptual and we're not in the design phase, approval phase? How much time do we have for tonight, and will there be other opportunities in the near future? Are we going to be seeing revisions of this that we would comment on also, or should we lay everything out on the table right now in terms of detailed comments?
Okay.
Through the chair, Commissioner Wong, could you please restate your question? We're having difficulty hearing what you were saying.
I think I might have dropped off a little bit. Commissioner Wong, you still there?
So, given this is kind of a pre-approval conceptual presentation and information session, will we have many other opportunities during the approval phase to see more details, or do we want to provide detailed comments, given that it's just conceptual right now, just general feedback, or how much time and detail do we want to provide feedback on this?
Hoping. Go ahead, Mr. Mota.
Sure, we're hoping to get as much feedback as possible tonight, and then have the applicants work on that input, and then with the feedback that we receive, staff can work with the applicant. And we're planning to go back to the commission one more time after the applicants hold a neighborhood meeting, just to kind of show what work has been done as a result of the planning commission study comments. And so depending on the level of comments, the amount of work we might, we're looking to come back one more time. But I think that if any comments or input is requested, that this is the opportunity to do that.
And also, will there be any other public presentations? I know we have a shelter in place, so it's really hard to get public in the room or more information out. I know that during some of the other projects, the developers would go to, farmers market every Saturday, and to the, Catholic schools, and give presentations out by the library. Are this going to be a big public review process, just like the other TOD projects, or will we just go with these planning commission meeting presentations?
The applicants may want to chime in on that particular comment. I know that the applicants have communicated to the city that they intend to do a robust community outreach, and might want to provide a little bit more detail into what you're planning to do for that.
Yeah, hi. We definitely want to reach out to the community and get the community's input. As mentioned before, we're invested for the long haul. And so these are our neighbors, and we want to respect that and work with our neighbors. As far as how we're doing that right now with the shelter in place, it's a lot more difficult, than it normally was. We, town hall meetings and everything you just described are things we would normally do. And hopefully, as things start to open up a little bit in the coming weeks and months, we'll be able to do more of that in person. But as it stands now, we've been working on setting up Zoom calls kind of like this as best we can to get the word out there and that sort of thing.
So thank you for your diligence and the details. If I can start with a couple of thoughts and feedback specifically. One is, I guess a couple things is just the flow and the traffic through the facility, the integration with the hotel, and also the orientation of the buildings. And then the conceptual drawings, I don't really see Spanish style concepts put into the concept drawings. I know there's some detailed and you have a material board, but they don't show on the architectural drawings on the conceptual plans. So let's go over them one by one. So flow. So I see that, as you mentioned, that for the parking structure, there's one main entrance. There is a EVA, emergency vehicle access, around the property, but I would really like to see more access into that parking lot. If there's only one entrance exit right there off Center Street, then that's going to create a big log jam and tie up, obviously, for that, for emergency and egress purposes and access. Really like to see if it's possible to turn that EVA into a path. We want to have more flow and more interesting character that people can walk and not just be an emergency vehicle only type of road. But if you can have a drive-through and that's a main entrance, if cars can continue to drive south around the southern part of the property, it'd be really interesting for people to have a walking path and access, and then around to the parking garage from the south side even. The orientation. Millbrae, we have really hellacious winds. They come in from the north and from the west, and it gets so bad that even like in our city park, people set up picnic tables and have birthday parties, but the wind coming east-west or west to east just blows everything off the tables and all around. I see the orientation. I know that I understand the purpose in trying to create a sound barrier with the parking structure to the east. But for the winds with the main courtyard and the main entrance coming in from the west, I see that you're going to have a lot of blocked sun. So the pool area seems to be shrouded like kind of like a sea. It's blocked from the south. Remember, everything always, right? We always like south-facing properties or south-opened properties for the swimming pool and the courtyard, so let's a lot of the light in. And by having more of a wind block from the north and from the west, it would shelter the residents and from the winds, and we'll have a lot more sunlight in. It seems like it would make it a lot better. Third thing, for the hotel integration, it seems like we're looking at this development as kind of like a separate development from the hotel property. And I think that might be a mistake. It'd be good to have at least some conceptual designs for the way the hotel is oriented and imagined or envisioned, because, for example, if it was integrated with this facility, perhaps they can use some shared parking, or the path and the flow where people would walk from the hotel. Could be integrated with this property also, so there may be more common spaces, and the residents of this property, if there was like a destination, so not only a hotel, but really like to see a destination for the hotel, so that it has restaurants or food court or some other activities that can be shared by the residents, or that people from the community can walk into the hotel, or if there's commercial spaces and restaurants, then it could be a destination shared by the entire community. So integrating that with the parking and the traffic flow and I guess just public access. That's a question for the city and for Roscoe. I guess after my couple comments, if you can address if this hotel property is zoned only for hotel, or can it be mixed commercial? Can it even be office space, or is it zoned only for hotel? Because we really see a lot of commercial activity in that destination, not only just for hotel residents, but for the entire community. The thing is again, just to mention the Spanish style. When I think of Spanish style, there there was some details put into the material boards, the mosaic, the clay tiles, kind of adobe, tiles, shingles on the roof is what I envision when I think of Spanish colonial, some of those elements, Moorish features, like the fountain and the mosaic tile is good, some wood elements. I guess maybe it's just a conceptual drawing right now, but the conceptual drawings right now, it just looks like every other modern development from South San Francisco down to Palo Alto with the siding and the colors without the details. So maybe adding in the more details later, we get more of a better impression of the Spanish colonial Moorish style that we're looking for. Okay, so those are my comments. Thanks for listening.
I'm having a hard time understanding him.
Did the applicant get the comments from Commissioner Wong?
Yes, I think so. I understand. I hear what you're saying about the Spanish style and the access on the EVA. One thing I just want to point out for you on the EVA is that's serving more than an EVA. It's going to be an all-access road for the fire engines and emergency vehicles, but that's also serving as our dog park and open areas for the residents and everything. So it is a walking path and dog parks and areas. We actually have our dog spa, you can see on the site plan back there. So we have activated that. It's much more than an EVA road. But then there was some concern about the winds and the pool orientation with that, and then the hotel integration. I think that, did that catch it all?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from Commissioner Wong?
Just noting the public comments again, when we have these large developments, traffic congestion is a major concern. So again, having one entrance to the parking structure, if we have a little bit more access from the EVA road and have people turning in from El Camino, that might ease up single access to the parking garage, and having people turn in from both Center and El Camino and getting access to the garage, and then might even help. I'm not sure where the hotel parking is going to be, but I don't know if there's dedicated common parking spaces. Maybe you can segregate certain part of that parking garage, or maybe coordinate with the hotel. Again, I'd like to see some destination or shared access, or just maybe think about that and coordinate that so that we have a complete destination project with the commercial/hotel space. So for Roscoe, is the hotel area, is that zoned only for hotel, or can it be commercial/hotel?
Yeah, so that the site where the hotel is proposed is zoned C commercial, and in that zone you can have offices, you can have general retail. So those are other options as well. But I think the idea behind requesting and the hotel development agreement is to offset the loss of the Best Western TOT and being able to help supplement that loss with a new hotel on the smaller portion.
I would say that if there was commercial, services, restaurants, I don't know, other activities or businesses like beauty salons and so forth, it could create a real destination and almost a, solitary live-work space for these residents. It would be just outstanding for them and for the community.
Noted, thank you.
Okay. Anything else from Commissioner Wong?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, very well. Anyone else? Who else wish to comment on the project? Ms. Quick?
Oh, thank you. One of the It's a lovely project. And thank you to Carrie for giving me a little background. I too have concerns about the parking garage with only the one entrance in and the one entrance out, especially when people are leaving for work and coming out. So that is also one of my concerns. A couple of other things, and I think that Commissioner Wong also spoke of the wind and the swimming pool. Is there any way that the swimming pool could be in the other courtyard, even maybe 2 smaller pools, and then 1 large pool, or how you are going to keep it from the wind? I'm not sure. Carrie is familiar with the weather here in Millbrae and in Burlingame, but Millbrae is quite windy, and it looks beautiful, and especially on some of the renderings where you're showing people with shorts and a bathing suit. It's just not going to happen in Millbrae. So to me, it seemed like the other courtyard would be much, much better suited for a swimming pool, because it is a little bit more protected by the leasing and all that area there. I know that the swimming pool where it is right now situated could be somewhat protected by the hotel when it's built. But the way I'm looking at it right now, might check with the wind factors, but no one will be able to ever use that pool. That's kind of what one of my other thoughts was about the situation of the pool. It looks like there's only 11 parking spaces for guests. Am I correct? Yes. When you have a project of this size, and I know we're trying to get away from cars. However, these people in 384 units are going to have guests. And when they have a guest, where are these people going to put their cars? Are they going to be able to use the parking spaces that are in the garage because they're not going to be assigned? Or where are these people going to put their cars? That's another concern that I have is, and maybe you can adjust the parking spaces inside the garage to be used for guests. So I have concerns about the parking, the situation of the swimming pool. I love it. It looks beautiful. However, we are in Millbrae, and the wind is horrendous. Some concerns about the garage entrance not being accessible, and there's really, from the street, if you're coming off the El Camino, there's the entrance, and when you're coming in from Center, that's not very much space for 384 apartments. And in order, and on either side of the utility building, the leasing building, you show where people can walk in. But that is a really, really long way for the apartments that are way down to the other side. And really the only people going to use that entrance are people that are going to maybe be walking from BART or getting off of the bus. So just a couple of ideas, having lived in Millbrae for many years, that it's just kind of something to think about. did I miss the page where it says how many 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom? You're gonna have 2-bedroom, 1-bath units, 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, and 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit, and studios also. Is that correct? Yes,
Garrett, we don't have any 2-1s, do we?
I'm sorry.
I was asking Garrett. No, all of our 2 bedrooms are 2 bathrooms. So to answer
Okay.
your question, we don't have any 2-bedroom, 1 bathrooms. It's 2-bedroom, 2
No
baths.
2-bed.
I'm sorry.
Please start over.
So we have the studios, and we have 1-bedroom, 1 bathrooms, and then we have 2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, and that's it.
And how many of each have you figured out how you're gonna configure the building yet? I mean, I did see a lot there, but I didn't count everything.
That's okay. That's our job. We have 49 studios, 198 1-bedrooms, and 137 2-bedrooms.
Okay. Thank you. I'm fine for right now. I reserve a chance to come back and ask questions again.
You certainly may, Commissioner Quick. Anybody else? What about Commissioner Joe? Do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Can you hear, everybody can hear me okay?
We can hear you.
I would appreciate if you can go through the vehicle and pedestrian circulation diagram, because I think one of the things that staff did mention a lot was the whole activation of Center Street. And Commissioner Quigg also mentioned being able to do that. So if you can maybe share that. I have it as A-2.3.1 to show the circulation. Hold on. Okay. So, I mean, well, I'm looking at the plans, but this is fine. So if you can go into just, pedestrian access, bicycle access, and then how both Center Street and then also behind, adjacent to the railroad tracks, what that would look like in terms of pedestrians and bicyclists. What does their path look like? And in addition to that, somebody who's parking in the garage, what does their path look like going to their unit?
Andy, this is Mark. I can take care of this for you.
Okay.
So the purple dash line is the pedestrian routes. So we have a pedestrian route that takes you from El Camino Real in front of the hotel to the front doors of the lobby of the residential building, that 2-story Jewel building. They also have a pedestrian route down the new 8-foot wide sidewalk along Center Street that would take you to the Monterey Trail. We have the bike route is in pink and blue. So we have, we plan on painting some Charo signs on Center Street. And there was a desire to cross El Camino Real on Center Street to get to the neighborhood park. We have that arrow going off to the right there. And then we also have, you can also use that, what looks like a private drive, we plan on enhancing it from El Camino Real that takes you to the motor court roundabout and then out to Center Street. So we feel like there's a lot of penetrations into the edge of the building. And then we also have the EVA, not only, Andy mentioned this earlier, not only is it for fire protection, and the fire department loves driving around your building, we also have areas for you to walk your dog, exercise stations. It's not all, doesn't appear to be a road because it's broken up with synthetic turf that the fire trucks can drive on. And that goes around the entire way to the 2 gates. We don't have currently any plans to make any improvements beyond the sidewalk on Center Street to the railroad tracks. Beyond that, nothing's been discussed.
Okay, so if you have somebody who's in, again, from the garage going to a unit that say is closer to where the pool is, how would do they walk around Center?
Yeah.
Or they have to go through buildings?
Yeah, they would go to the corridor. Garrett, do you have a cursor, Garrett? Yeah, they would go to the corridor and walk straight through the corridor out to, we have those, they can actually get through closer to the EVA too there. Or we have a passageway directly down from the top EVA path. There's a wide corridor there. It's about an 8-foot wide passageway between the buildings.
Okay, and then, okay, and then in terms of in back of the garage area, is there anything,
There's a sidewalk that is inside the fire lane. So the fire lane is 5 feet of sidewalk and 15 feet of synthetic turf for a total width of 20 feet. And then occasionally we'll do enlarged paving areas and maybe do like a games. You can't have any structures on the fire lane, but we can do, things like shuffleboard and things like that, cornhole, things that are removed. And that's what those expanded concrete areas are in the fire lane.
okay. That's something that I think would be interesting to see a little bit more about what you're visualizing for that, for the EVA path. And
Okay.
that sounds like that will be more of a, you're hoping it'll be more of a walkway as well. And you
It's a
mentioned
walkway.
shuffleboard.
Yeah, correct. It's
Activities.
certainly meant to be a resident amenity.
Okay.
As opposed to be-
Okay, and I would concur with my fellow commissioners about the entrance and exit from the garage being, just having that one entrance and having, maybe if there were some, I don't know where it would be from, but maybe out to where the EVA is adjacent to the railroad track, if there was some way to have, just as an emergency or something, some kind of a separate ingress egress from the garage. I think that might be something that would be good to look into. On your lighting plan, I didn't notice any lighting on the Center Street side. Was that, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I'm going to it right now. Yeah, so there are pole lights on Center Street. But those new, this has not been updated based on the new articulation of those nodes and the 8-foot wide sidewalk. We would certainly have low-level lighting there for protection and security. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not seeing it on your lighting plan, so I would want to see that.
That needs to be updated.
Okay, thank you. And let's see. So I'm not sure if this is a staff thing, or to the applicant, but in terms of the hotel design, I understand that you need to wait to a certain degree to be able to get your entitlements before you can get the discussions going in terms of the hotel. But on the other hand, we've had other projects where they have planned the hotel at the same time, and at least we see the design. It just feels like we're not seeing the complete picture of the project without the hotel in it. So what is the general timeline that we're looking at in terms of actually being able to see at least a design review, if, even though it might not be completely set as to which hotel is coming in, but just to have a little bit more detail, because it feels like there's that, and then, you have Zen Peninsula, so you're kind of building out around it, but we don't have the hotel in there. So what are the plans or thoughts in terms of the timeline for that?
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate that question and understand the concern there. The biggest issue is when you decide on a flag, every flag has their own design requirements. And in order to get a flag to fully invest and commit to the project, you have to be able to start construction within a certain period of time. And we're too far out to be able to make that commitment. We actually had a flag engaged earlier on in the process, but we lost that contract because we couldn't get the project under construction quickly enough, just because of all of the entitlements that we have to go through to get there. And so the plan now is to make sure that we set aside that area for the hotel. And I want to go back and say, when we discovered this site and invested in this site, it's been our intentions from day one to maintain operation of the hotel and to build a hotel on that site. This is not a situation where we don't want to do a hotel on the site, which is why we've been moving that forward for so long. The so the kind of the timeline to answer your question is once we get the entitlements for this project, we can start construction whilst we work on the design review with getting a flag in place. And at that time, we can get all the infrastructure in place with the construction that we've started, the demolition, all the grading and site utilities and everything, move through design review, move through construction documents and start construction. Our intentions are to finish both projects at about the same time, because the hotel will actually build much quicker than the residential.
And assuming
So
that
you
you
say,
get-
sorry, Davidson, Mr. Davidson, so you're saying that you're looking to get construction documents and construction begins before you have a hotel approved and designed?
You broke up a little bit there. To be clear,
Sorry. Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that plan with regard to your hotel in terms of timeline?
Sure, absolutely. Once we get entitled on the site here, we'll be able to go straight to design review with the hotel, which will streamline that process, as you know. And so we will be able to go to all of the, the Hyatts and the Marriotts of the world and pick a flag, move forward with the design review to that flag's requirements, working with, of course, the city of Millbrae. Once we go through design review on that, we'll immediately move into construction documents, and then you go through the plan check and start construction. And so the timing would be the goal would be to get construction started so we could get all the infrastructure in place for the hotel, and then start construction on the hotel.
Sorry, Ms. Joe, I interrupted you a little bit there, but I just want to make sure we got a clear understanding of what Mr. Davidson was talking about in terms of timeline. But sorry, go ahead, Ms. Joe.
Sure. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let me go through my notes. I had something else. Oh, just in terms of the general design. So I know, I think Commissioner Wong mentioned Spanish style and all of that, and I don't think we need everything to be Spanish style, or we don't need the building to be exactly what it looked like before. Having said that, I'm just kind of curious as to, I think the building design is something that the staff did ask us for some feedback on. And of the applicant, I guess I would ask, what, if you can kind of go into what is your thought process in terms of the design, and, maybe making it a little bit more on the traditional, just adding some more elements. I know you have the decorative elements in there, and I think that's good, but, was there, if you can maybe go into that a little bit more, that would be nice to hear.
Fred, is your audio back?
I can try. Can you guys hear me now?
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Is that better? Okay, great. So, and again, to be clear, what we're talking about is contemporary mission or mission inspired. So what we've done is we've taken some of the elements that you see in a traditional Spanish mission, but again, when you look to mission style, what you see is stucco in some natural tones. You see some accent colors, and you see some deep overhangs and shading devices. So with that palette in mind, that's kind of what we look to for the source of inspiration. I don't think that, for a 5-story structure to be designed like a mission style, it would be inappropriate. So what we've tried to do is a contemporary mission in this particular location.
Okay, thank you. And also, I guess I would just go, so thank you for that on that slide. And then just going back to the back, that parking structure and the EVA walk toward the back, if we are thinking to activate that more, make it a little more interesting, I think I would like to see it a little bit more, have a little more interest to it, especially if you're thinking that people, is this something where people would be able to go directly from center and they would be able to, you would actually access that EVA active path?
Yes,
just
Commissioner,
looking
there will be a pedestrian gate in the EVA.
Okay.
So that if you're a resident, it's only for residents only, the amenities back there. So if you're a resident, you'd be able to walk from Center Street through the pedestrian gate. And then, it sounds like you want a list of amenities that we're proposing back there. So it's really meant for a place to kick a ball with your son and play lawn games. People are missing their backyards when they move into a community like this. They don't want to take care of them, but they like some of the things that backyards offer. So that's what the EVA is meant to be. You know, most EVAs are all asphalt or concrete, but when given the opportunity to use it as an amenity, we always try to seize it. So that's what we've done here.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Joe?
And how wide is that? Just that whole path?
The actual driving lane is 20 feet wide, but we have 5 feet of landscaping on the property line wall and 5 feet of landscaping next to the parking structure. And it gets much wider next to the PUC property.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I think I have for now. In the staff report, so this is more towards staff. Staff mentioned something about adding a 6-foot block wall at the rear property line.
That's currently
Did
what
they
we're
mention
proposing.
that? Oh, that is currently, okay, so that's not something different from,
Sorry,
Okay.
Commissioner, just to respond to that note, the project does currently show a 6-foot block wall along the EVA at the property adjacent to the PUC property. And that was one of the points that we wanted to have you look at and discuss and comment on if you felt that that was appropriate or if you wanted to see something different.
I see. So you're talking about so if you're looking at this slide right now, you're
Yes.
talking about the top part, top
Right,
portion.
yeah,
And there's
precisely.
a 6-foot block wall.
Yes.
And you're asking us if we don't want that there?
If that's something that you want to see, or if you feel that that's something that is appropriate for the site, if it's something you may want to consider doing something less permanent, maybe a green wall. What is the purpose of that wall? And is it achieving that purpose with the design?
Well, can the applicant speak to what the purpose is of that
Yeah.
wall?
The purpose is to shield the PUC property, which is really just a utility yard with utility vehicles from the ground level patios. So that when they sit on their patios or look out their living rooms, windows, they're not looking at utility vehicles. So day one, it's we plan on putting substantial amount of plant material there, but it will take time to grow in. So at day one, it's to solve that issue of the bad views from those residents.
Okay, but then ultimately we're hoping that there'll be green. It'll show us
There
more
will
green.
be green in 5 years' time.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions. I might have more.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can come back later if you think of others, Commissioner Joe. All right, so I have developed a small list here. So let's go over a little bit about some of the fundamental of the project. I don't think we, throughout the whole project presentation, by the way, first of all, we should both the staff and Antoine in bringing this project to the Planning Commission so that our residents as well as this commission has a chance to take a first look at this site. And I think that has been working in the background for a long time coming, and I appreciate the effort both on the staff as well as Antoine Development. First off, I like that we have much of the financials with regard to this project. For example, the involved in this project and how this impact fee will contribute to city functions such as school district, for example, or park and rec. Part of it might even go to the rec center if possibility exists. And how much of those impact fees, if any, would go into some infrastructure upgrades and so on and so forth. Can either staff or the applicant elaborate on that?
Yeah, staff can respond to that. So with regards to the infrastructure upgrades, so there's various fees that the project will incur as a result of the development, and some of those have to be those fees will have to be directly related to the amount of impact the project proposes on the existing infrastructure. I don't offhand recall what amounts they would have to pay as a result of the various fees. That's something that we could look into and get back to the commission at a future commission meeting. But there are some fees that will have to be paid, and the school fees are charged by the school district. And so those fees aren't collected by the city staff. But the school district is looking at, they are looking at this particular project and doing conducting a fee study that will looks at the future demand for the schools and other developments in the city, and determining an appropriate fee to charge future developments.
Are they charging it on a per square footage basis of residential development?
You know, I don't have that information offhand right now.
Okay, we have a timeline on that.
I can get back to you for the next meeting for this project.
Sounds good. And also, obviously, not just for school district, but as well as, you know, park fee, for example, infrastructures and you know, many others. Sorry, someone was speaking.
Yes, Alan here. So yeah, it would be good to have at least, or maybe they've put together a fiscal impact report already, but it would be good when we go out to the public that public knows exactly what the count is for number of residents, number of children. Put together a small balance sheet to know what the impact to the city is in terms of fiscal impacts and revenues. It would be good. People ask these questions, and it's good to see that it's contributing to our community, and instead of just having to absorb a lot of city services that won't get reimbursed.
Right, so that would actually be my number 2 comment, would be to ensure that we have a financial impact report when we look at this project again next time, whatever that timeline is, as this would be important for us to sort of get a determinations and understanding of how they how all the financial interconnect with each other. I mean, knowing the fact that we're demolished now, that has been producing some very important TOT for our city. Doing a full-on financial impact analysis, come around, you know, to your hotel design, and can you get a little further along with your design process and try to figure out what some of the amenities of your hotel would be and guesstimate of your expectations on revenue and expenses. Then, you know, we can get an idea. I mean, right now it shows a 200-room key hotel, but I guess, you know, we haven't seen any components of the hotel being, you know, on the table. So, which I understand why when I, you know, listened to Mr. Davidson a little earlier about how, you know, your timeline and how it interoperate, you know, with having the difficulties of not being able to sign up with a hotel operator until you're further along on your entitlement process, and I get that, right? But in order for us to get a whole pictures with, as we go further along the process and try to get this approved, we need to get tell, and therefore also sometimes able to use a more detailed financial analysis, right? And what this picture would look like city, very, very important for us to make a decision on. Okay. What other infrastructures would be improved as part of this development? Some of the from earlier conversation saying that some of the electrical pole would be removed and be underground, right? Any other utilities, you know, would be upgraded as a result of this almost 400 unit.
Sorry, pretty broken up there for me. I don't know if anybody else heard you, but I think your question was what other utilities would be upgraded? Infrastructure.
Yeah, correct. What other infrastructures, utility would be upgraded as part of this development with bringing in 400, almost 400 new units.
Right. So, okay. So, as mentioned before, Center Street, we're going to underground all of the overhead power lines, which in it of itself is a huge beautification. And we're going to widen that sidewalk. We're going to make that area all walkable. We're going to, add landscaping along Center Street there, along the site and everything. But at this time, that is everything that's planned. We are working with staff on some other things that we're considering and looking at as far as the Center Street goes.
So follow-up question.
So,
Linda, she presented some drawings that had modifications for El Camino, but El Camino, that would be the city's responsibility, would it not, with part of the Grand Boulevard development rather than funded by this project?
The El Camino, are you talking about the exhibit that was on earlier, Ms. Robeson?
Sorry, I'm just trying to, you were breaking up there, Commissioner. I'm looking for the slide that I think you were talking about. Let's see if I can share this again.
Take your time, Linda.
So is that the slide that we're looking at? Can you see that?
Not yet. Waiting for you to load.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
lost
sorry.
the share. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, here we go.
Is that the slide that we're talking about?
Yeah, my question earlier was, trying to figure out, as part of this site being redeveloped, obviously we're bringing in, 380 some units coming in, potentially 600, 700, 800 new residents. Other than the utility, such as power pole being removed and moved underground, anything else that would be upgraded as part of that or need to be upgraded in order to accommodate, 400, almost 400 residential units and maybe another 200 room keys.
I believe there would be. I would have to talk with Public Works. I don't know if our director is still online that could speak to that specifically, but that would be part of that may be negotiated with the development agreement. In terms of what we're looking at currently is not so much the infrastructure improvements as the connectivity and the suitability for this site within the existing context.
Understood.
So I'm not sure if Key is still online. It looks like he's still here. Maybe he wants to talk to that.
Mr. Lim, Director Lim. Director Lim is a little camera shy right now.
Hello, Chair
Okay,
Fang.
we go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine now.
All right, okay. There will be some utility that we are looking at. Linda mentioned some of the bikeway and power line, and we also have sewer and water line that we have not looked at, and also storm drains. So we looked at the potential site. There might be some location that we can introduce some GI, some green infrastructure on site, and those need to be looked at more thoroughly. And we have looked at C3. On the most part, I believe the applicant had met all the C3 requirements, but there are something I think we could do better than what we have seen. So there'll be a continued discussion with the applicant.
Yeah, it'd be nice to bring it back next time so that we have a more understanding of, what all that upgrade would mean to us as a city. I mean, as you all well know,
Right. Yes.
kind of an aging infrastructure. And, I'm not sure personally on that side of our community what that aging infrastructure looks like, but it sure would be a good idea to get an estimate of what will get done as part of this development.
That is correct. Yes, that will be our next step.
Very well. As far as this project, it might be a little premature to ask that question, but just that I want to make sure that it's out there. Is there any local union labor agreement with regard to this project?
No.
So it's totally private.
Mhm.
Okay. Any consideration of that at all whatsoever?
Yeah, we bid out to everybody. As you know, we work with a lot of union contractors just by nature of the work that this is. So we will have a lot of union contractors on the job.
Okay. And if you do have an estimate of what percentage of that would go into your local union, it would also be good, because, you know, COVID-19 has become a pretty big hit for everybody, local community wise. Hire local, and, you know, make sure that local people have higher priority in your hiring program would be a good idea. Do we have a local, you know, first source program type thing here set up in the planning department, Mr. Malter, or we don't have that?
I misunderstood your question. I thought you were asking about union labor. As far as local, we do always try and hire local labor as best we can. We've even got that kind of boilerplate language in our subcontractor agreements. As I mentioned earlier, we are the general contractor.
Yes.
Because it is always in, you know, it's always you know, upswing if we can hire local labor. So.
Yeah, but to the extent that you can hire union labor, first of all, right, would be, you know, would be a good idea. But, you know, to the extent of other labor that you need to hire, try to go local, as we need to make sure that we can benefit the local economy as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other community benefit that Anton would be considering or still considering offering as part of this project? I mean, other than the obvious, such as the sidewalk improvement. I mean, the city is old, right? We need a lot of stuff. Have you, the developer, consider any other community benefit?
I didn't mention, we are, you know, enhancing the curb and sidewalk and landscaping along El Camino, along the frontage of our site that's adjacent to El Camino. So not just on Center Street, but along El Camino as well. And we are, as mentioned earlier, continuing that sidewalk all the way to the connection of the bike path. After discussions with city staff and everything, widening that sidewalk along Center Street to bring that connection in.
Okay, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned that Antoine it's here to stay. You know, we want to make sure that you're part of the community. And as you well know, you know, being hit with COVID-19, the city is probably likely to have a shortfall in our budget. So if there's any other community benefit that you can bring forward, we would love to entertain whatever offer you might have for us. So we'd love to for you to think a little bit about that and see if we can have that discussion even, you know, a little bit later time as the project move along.
Yep.
Okay. And what were some of the consideration factors when you know, part of your package offering a 5% very low income level BMR? Just want to try to understand some of the consideration factors that you have there, other than the obvious, where, you know, the very low income level, the 19 units, which we very much appreciate, obviously. It's very difficult to fill. It's very difficult to fill those quotas or requirements, I should say. Other than the obvious, is any other consideration factor in there?
When you say consideration factor, I'm not quite sure. Right, why would we do it in general?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Why 5% on the, why 19 unit on a very low income, where, you know,
right,
versus maybe, you know, a little bit more higher, a little bit of higher income level BMR, but a little bit more availability so that we can fit in more lower income family into our city.
Sure. Yeah. So I think first of all, there's obviously, you know, state density bonus law and everything that we're working with, but the very low income is a depth of affordability that is, as you mentioned, it's hard to hit, and so when you do hit it, it's a big success for the project and the community. And I think you'd be surprised how many people would fill that quickly, based on the median income and everything. Getting VLI units in the city would be, you know, is very easy and quick to fill. There's a long waiting list for people. And as you know, there's no affordability requirement. So we're pretty proud that we're providing the 19 units as it is.
Okay.
Takeaway, Alan here. The city of Millbrae, for the regional needs allocation, is trying to hit a target for median income units. Do you have an idea of how many of these units would be for median income?
We don't have any slated for median income right now. It's 5% very low at this time.
Yeah, so I thought, when I first looked at this, right, I thought, in our city, there's been a lot of discussions about how to fit in our teachers and our, other civic servants. And there's been a lot of discussions about how to find project site, for teacher housing, for example. I'm not saying that has to tie into that, but what I'm trying to think is if we can offer some sort of a, on a higher percentage, but perhaps a little bit higher AMI, where it could be teacher preferred housing, for example, right? If there's such a agreement could be struck, would certainly be beneficial to a city such as Millbrae, where we're very well known for our education and we pay a lot of attention to it. There are a lot of parents in this neighborhood, right? And they would certainly welcome an idea such as that. So I just want to make sure that we explore all the options available and have an open discussion about it, right? And then so that we can come to some sort of a program where everybody can support, right? And I think so. That's the angle at which I'm coming from with regard to that comment, Mr. Davidson. Okay, so I'd like to keep that as an open discussion as far as that BMR situation.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, very well. And so the question for staff a little bit, if we were to have a BMR units implemented here, how would that be managed? Is it going to be done at a San Mateo County level, or does the city have any hand into this?
The city's economic development and housing manager would facilitate that process. We would, we don't manage the affordable housing units in-house, but we have a process in place that where the applicants would manage with the help of the city.
I'm sorry, Mr. Malter, you broke up a little bit. You said we do or we do not have that management in-house today?
We don't.
We do not. Okay. So is it a process that we need to develop in order to facilitate the selections and fill in those more units?
We do have staff that is able to address and to facilitate affordable units. We do have that staff capable, and we do have procedures in place.
We do already currently as we
yes.
do.
But we don't do the selection.
So the landlord themselves, they do, but we have a program in which such as a waiting list, for example.
Right.
Okay. Very well. For Antoine, what other public outreach do you have in mind and planned between now and the next meeting?
I'll be honest with you, we're still working through the logistics of that. As mentioned, with the shelter in place and everything, it's pretty difficult.
Understood.
I don't have a good answer for you right now. That's something that's well on our radar. But Carrie, if you want to speak to that, go ahead.
I think try to connect her audio. I think she's trying to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, we got you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we pride ourselves on as Andy was saying, we understand the importance of engaging the community in a project like this and its importance to the city. And we're going to do it right and make sure that we do extensive outreach, both to the neighborhoods, that are immediately adjacent to the project. There's the neighborhood where you have, there's folks obviously on Center Street. There's the neighborhood along San Anselmo and Landing Lane. You have the Marina Vista neighborhood to the east. And then we'll also be doing outreach to other stakeholders and, folks that are interested in what happens here on this project. So I think you'll see a combination of different types of outreach. Some of it will be more, one-on-one or small group type outreach. And then we'll also, I'm sure, have larger community meetings as well.
Sure. Very well. Thank you. So another question is a little bit more technical in nature. I see that through the staff report, everything seems to fall into the zoning requirement, except the height, which is from 40 feet to 63 feet, 62 feet 3 inches. Is that correct?
That's correct. The applicants, as a result of providing the 5% BMR units at the very low income level, are requesting a waiver of the height, which they're allowed under density bonus.
Right, so that is the bonus waiver that they're seeking, which is the height limitation.
Correct.
Okay, very well. Is that something that, never mind, we'll get to that. Let's go over a little bit about the timeline with regard to constructions and completion of both the hotel and the residential component of it. Since we haven't gotten anything on the hotel side of it, you know, and then you were saying, Mr. Robertson, a little earlier, that you wish to get very close or even through entitlement on the residential component before we have a little bit more detail on the hotel. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Is it not possible for us to get some understanding what the hotel is going to look like and exactly how many rooms, what kind of services and amenities that you'll be offering? Therefore, we'll be able to have a better understanding on the financial impact of that report. Because as you well know, how many hotel rooms are we currently on Rancho right now?
The current number of hotel rooms in the El Rancho are 219.
219, and you're saying that you're going to replace that with 200 rooms.
Mhm.
Okay, so it'll be important for us to understand what sort of a revenue impact this means to us, right? You know, not just so much on the reduction of the 19 rooms, but rather, you know, what sort of amenities that you could be offering at the hotel. What's the average room rate going to be, and you know, bringing in 384 new residential units, it is going to be a bit of a financial stress on the city, quite honestly. So there'll be some sort of an expense, and in order for us to be able to take care of these new residents, so we're trying to understand what, you know, the financial model would look like as a result of this development. So that hotel would be a very big component of our consideration, as you can understand.
Mhm.
So do you have any guesstimate what that hotel amenity-wise is going to look like? Is it going to be a full-on resort-like hotel, or is it going to be more of a business travel, limited service hotel? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we expect it to be, you know, an urban style, you know, lifestyle hotel. You know, it's going to be 7 stories tall, so you know it's going to be a much more chic, you know, than what the current hotel is. And so for those reasons, we believe we're going to have higher room rates than we have now. Well, certainly now, during this whole COVID pandemic.
Yes, we all hope, right? Otherwise, what's the point of doing a hotel?
Yeah, right. And so for those reasons, you know, that's all positive stuff. As far as the exact amount of amenities and everything, that's a negotiation and that's a dance. How much we want to provide in the way of amenities versus banquet room size versus room number of keys. So the more amenity space we have, the less keys we have, are able to provide just due to space and everything. And so that'll be something that we work hard with the city to find that sweet spot, you know, and the flag once we're able to decide a flag.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot more meaningful discussion next time around if we can have more detail on the hotel. And I understand how difficult it might be, you know, for your, you know, trying to nail down a flag, as you said earlier, right? Trying to find an operator who is going to be able to work with you, have a well-defined hotel in terms of amenity and design, what that's going to look like. But I think it's I'm sure you're going to do a good job at it, right? And so it's going to be important for us to look at some of the more of the interoperable of the hotel in order for us to really make an educated decision as to, you know, what this project should look like and how would that fit our city. So yeah. Right. So so having said that, you know, let's go back to my earlier comment about timeline. is that I think it'll be important for us to have both the hotel and the residential component completed. And you said that it's going to be roughly around the same time, right?
That's our goal.
That's your goal, and that would very much be our goal as well. I would imagine, right? So it will probably more than likely to be some sort of a condition on final occupancy permit in order for that residential portion to be issued, is to have the hotel completed.
Yeah, so we're working right now with the city staff, as you know, on the hotel development agreement to make sure that the city has protections. I mean, the last thing, one thing we've said to members of staff we've been working with for a long time is, we don't want to come in and make the city feel like we're not going to deliver on the hotel and everything. But if you were asked to finance a hotel right now today, given the economic state, it's impossible. And so we can't, make certain guarantees, but we can do things to provide protection to the city, to make sure the city's protected whilst we move through the process and everything. And that's what we've been working hard on with staff. So we definitely appreciate what the city's up against, and we want to make sure we can deliver for the city.
Commissioner Fung?
Is it Commissioner Wong?
Yes. So
Yeah.
a couple questions on that. With the variance for the height limitation, what is the restriction, or is there another authority that's restricting height limitations? Is it the airport? And for the hotel property, what's limiting the height restriction there also? There's very few properties in Millbrae where we can develop, major developments like this, have commercial properties where we can, provide, work, jobs for people. And that's, in order to maximize the use, I'm wondering how much more development is possible to maximize the benefit of this property. Oh, and then the question is, again, what is the exact variance requested for the lot line?
The applicant gets that? 1 second there, Ms. Davis. Did the applicant gets that? Question?
I'm sorry, I thought the question was for staff. I was having a hard time hearing.
Could you repeat that, Mr. Wong?
Yeah, actually, was the question for staff is what authority is making height restrictions for the property, for the hotel, and for the building? Is it the airport? And what exact variance is requested for the lot line adjustment? I didn't get that in the review of the plans.
I'm not sure that there is a variance for the lot line adjustment.
It's just a lot line. It's not a lot adjustment. It's just a lot line adjustment. It's not a lot of area required.
Right. With respect to the height of the hotel, the hotel site is in a commercial zoning district, which has a 40-foot height limit. And the appropriate mechanism to permit a hotel to exceed that height will be communicated to the applicant as a plan development. And so that's something that we would need to rezone to a PD.
But that, I think, what he was more referring to, Mr. Malta, is that instead of 40, give it to 62 feet and 3 inches. Would that require FAA approval, as given the proximity to the airport? It didn't look that close, but that's not sure.
It does have to be reviewed. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 99.9% sure that it is below the threshold.
Okay.
I believe the height limit in that location is more towards closer to 100, but this one is well below.
Okay, very well. Sorry, Ms. Davis?
We're off track. This is a study session for the residential development, not the hotel. The hotel is going to be a separate project. And where the staff has asked us for our feedback on some very specific questions, and we haven't touched any of them yet, and it's 10 o'clock. So
Okay.
I'm hoping we can get back on track soon.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, all right. So from a design perspective, I think, you know, I'm looking at the color schemes and how that whole thing is played together. Sorry, Bernadette? You're muted.
Commissioner Quigg would like to speak, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand.
It's
Ms. Quigg?
it's like now we just had 10 dongs on the grandfather clock and my battery is getting down. So I have a couple of questions. I know, and I'm gonna very quickly on the hotel. You're reserving 1.2 acres for the hotel. Does that include parking and everything that would be involved with the hotel? Yes, I see Carrie. Okay. Number two, the statue that is in the entryway now, what is going to happen with that? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows at this time.
Nobody knows. I would like to put in a 2 cents that it go to the historical house because it is to the museum. It is from the Mills Mansion. Third question. I know I can figure it out, but you probably have it at your tip of your tongue. What is the width of the driveway on El Camino and the width of the driveway on Center? And I think you might have said something about it tonight, but I didn't hear it.
Mark, do you have that at the tip of your tongue?
I'm sorry?
Mark's on mute.
It's not on the tip of my tongue, but I'm going to it right now.
Linda, do you have that?
I want to say 35 feet, but I'll leave it to the architects.
Each one of them is 35 feet?
We're checking it, Commissioner. Just a moment.
Oh, okay. Okay. And
I
I
can
had
just
one
turn
more
it-
question.
It's been a long day for my computer.
Yeah, right. While you were getting that for me, on the brick wall, I think it is a good idea. However, I'm sure you will be planting, and I think I heard something about that, where the brick wall would be covered with an ivy or some kind of a growing plant that would make it green. And
that is, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is. That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it would, but
Okay. So I have the answer for you for your driveway width. So the width of the driveway at El Camino Real is 26 feet. And the width of the driveway at the garage entry is 22 feet.
at the garage
Is that the one?
is
the
how
other-
much?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the other driveway that exits from the leasing office. Okay. Closer to the
Right.
rest. Okay.
How much did you say the garage was? 26?
22.
I'm sorry?
22 feet.
Little. And at Center Street,
It's 24.
when I looked at this project and I see a lot of apartments, and I look at both of these entrances that basically go to the same place. It's basically just a little L. And I really have concerns that that is much too small. You're going to have a 7-story hotel, regardless of what it's going to look like. And you're also going to have the restaurant right next door, and you're going to have 26 feet. And that's pretty narrow. And to me, you're taking away from your apartments. Once you get inside and I look at the amenities building and it's lovely. However, you're really not going to see that from Center Street until you get there. And when you're coming, if you turn down, and it's going to have to be a right-hand turn to get in, it's going to look narrow. You're going to feel like you're going, maybe I'm wrong, but you feel like you're going into a small driveway. It just looks small. To me, when you look at the whole complex, that doesn't fit in as well as I think it could. So I'd appreciate it if you give that another look. And it's tight in there. There's not enough space. You get 11 cars there, and I think that's where you said the 11 cars. And then you've got people coming for the hotel. It just seems like with the size of the whole project, this area is too small. But I'm not an architect, but I'd appreciate it looked at. Thank you. And I'm at, let me tell you how much my battery is. I may have to sign off. No, I'm still at 32, so we're okay.
You don't have a charger?
Well, the charger is not in the middle of my dining room. Chargers are every place else. I'm sorry.
If I might, Commissioner Davis was mentioning we should get to some of the points that Linda Roberson made in her presentation. So maybe we hit a couple of those. Maureen, do you want to go first on those, or do you want me to hit them? Okay. So one was the stoops, the question about the Center Street stoops and the setback. You know, that side of the street, if there's larger, wider medians and places for gatherings, it's good to have that setback. It's good to have the green belt around it, make it look nice for the community and the neighbors. But I don't see a lot of people gathering there. That's why we're kind of focusing on the hotel area, because if the hotel had restaurants and, you know, coffee shops, then I'm sure that a lot of the residents would go and meet people over there in the lobby of the hotel with the coffee shops, and that'd be a lot nicer, interesting place for not just the residents, but for community to gather and meet people and interact. As far as, and then stoops, it seems like, again, harping back on the EVA access road, the units that are on the southeast portion of the complex, no, southwestern portion of the complex, they seem really far from the parking area. So I'd imagine that a lot of people would try to, if they could, if there was more access to their units from the EVA road, I can see them pulling out furniture and trying to go and unload and move their boxes and move in from other areas of the complex. So just having that road and access road again, not just for EVA, but for the residents and for circulation and flow pattern and interest for people driving and walking. I'd rather see more area devoted to widening that road or access road than even the stoops area on the Center Street. But that's just my comments. Other people may have different ideas too. For the east facing parking garage that faces the railroad tracks, Ms. Roberson mentioned that it would be good to have some interesting features for people that come into Millbrae. I know that when they pull into the Millbrae station's a landmark right there. So, you know, it's very close to the Millbrae station. So just pulling in to there provides character for the city and a landmark that people go, wow, they're in Millbrae now. So it's good to have some interest into the parking lot that people can see when they come by on Caltrain or from BART. But I think that more important is just to have, green belts, a little bit separation, and then sound absorbing features, because I think we wouldn't want a sound wall that would just bounce the noise from the airport and the railroad tracks into the homes on the east side of the train tracks. We don't want sound just bouncing off the parking structure and then creating this big giant valley of sound for those homes on the east side of the railroad tracks. So sound absorbing, green belt, I would see, and then maybe some interest also. It's nice for that side of the complex. And I think that covers two of the issues that Mr. Roberson raised. Those are my thoughts. Was there any other issue, Mr. Roberson, that you had that we should address?
I don't think so. I think that you had addressed a couple of the others already regarding the architectural design and the building style, the circulation and connectivity. Yeah, I think you hit on all of them. Thanks.
Okay, great. So as I was going down my list, sorry, I got one more thing. Is that from a design perspective, I think, we sort of live in a modern time, right? So therefore, I think I personally would like to see more of a modern and contemporary design, both at the hotel as well as the residential component of it. I see a lot of stucco. I see a lot of sort of earth tone color. But I think, I understand that the site used to be, what the mission style hotel, but I think we do live in a modern time, right? So, if we're going to be doing a brand new project there, some consideration could be made, right? To say, well, right now we're 2020, and by the time this is all said and done, it's likely to be 2022, 2023, if not even later than that. So keep that in consideration. We live in a modern time, not mission time anymore. Okay. I just want to go back to the business side of it for a little bit more, because this is in fact a review of the entire project, right? Not just a component of the project, and design review is only a portion of it, right? Is that what would be in the developer agreement of this whole thing? I mean, you talk about a little bit about the hotel development and the entire hotel development. Would could you elaborate more on what entails in the developer agreement?
Yeah, I can get into a little bit. I don't want to speak out of turn here. I'm still working with city staff on that, but
Right.
we've made obligations to continue to move the hotel forward. We're trying to understand what the financial impact is on the loss of TOT. Of course, right now there really is no TOT based on the current pandemic, but we're working on trying to help bridge that gap in some way, shape, or form. And so we've got some bullet points over to the city, and I know they've been working hard at looking at them and providing a response.
Okay. Well, so hopefully on the next meeting go around, we get a little bit more insight into that. Okay. All right. So that's what I have. Anybody else have any other comment for either the staff or the applicant?
I would just add a quick one.
Ms. Joe?
Yes, thank you. I would agree with Commissioner Wong as far as I feel about Center Street. So I know the staff was concerned about trying to activate that more, but I feel like the extent to which it is, for me, I'm comfortable with it, where it's at. So I don't know if it necessarily has to have a stoop, and right now it's not a place that people congregate in. And I think if you have the rest of the complex look good, and the hotel and all of that, I feel comfortable with that. I would like to see next time a little more in terms of just the circulation plan, and how that would work. And again, the ingress and egress from the garage area, and just kind of having a feel for what all the residents will do. Commissioner Wong brought up even moving, somebody's moving in, how are they're going to pull up into the garage, and they're going to cart all their stuff to, like, say if they're in a unit close to the hotel. So some kind of accommodations for that. And then maybe, since it's unbundled parking in the garage, if you have a certain number that's for visitor spaces, I don't know if that's something that you have in there, but so I think that in terms of, and I've already talked about the other questions, I think, that were brought up. So that's all I have.
The parking issue is very big with the community, obviously, because there's many complexes, residential complexes where it spills over onto the streets, and for blocks, the residents have to park. But for this planned facility, there's 560 parking spots for 250 studios and one-bedroom apartments. That'd be 250 of those 560 plus, so that would leave, my math is right, another, it's quite a few for the 2 units, which came out to my calculation 2.3 cars per 2-bedroom unit. So I don't think the 2-bedroom units are gonna have 2.3 cars. Sounds like a lot. So I think there'd be plenty with that giant parking garage with 5 or 6 stories in the back. There should be plenty of parking, and it should answer any of the community concerns about parking. I guess just my one comment was that, again, for the hotel area, if that'll be shared with the hotel, but how's the hotel going to handle the parking? And if we do have allowances for commercial / hotel development there, then we want to make sure there's plenty of parking for that. Yeah.
And they're saying that the parking on the hotel's portion of it will have to be within the hotel site, not share with the parking structure. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that going to be enough space?
We believe so. And when we had some initial sketches done, we believe it won't be an issue.
All right. Okie dokie. Anyone else? Ms. Davis?
Hi. So I think the design is lovely. It's described as modern Mediterranean or Spanish, and that's certainly the direction it's gone. The materials all make sense. The stucco, the earth tones, those are all fabulous. I think what throws people off is there's not a single arch to be seen, nothing rounded, and that may be what be throwing people off. But it's the Mediterranean style is there. You guys have a whole bunch of these scattered around the Bay Area, these developments, and you must have experience with how many entrances to parking garages there are. When you come back, if you can just explain how these things work, it will probably take away a lot of questions. Linda, you had a question about streetscape improvements. Was that the Stoops side? Have we covered that? I was confused by that one. We got a wider sidewalk now. There's vegetation. I wasn't sure what you meant when there was a question in there about streetscapes. Looking at my notes. In there was a question about the connectivity for bikes and pedestrians at the backside, back of the parking garage. I didn't even know there was a path that ran alongside the railroad tracks, so that was new information. So I don't know what kind of connectivity you want from that. I mean, probably we can't just be darting. There's going to be a property line and a fence enclosing the property, so we can't probably just dart out to the trail from any random spot. But so that was interesting.
For that, excuse me, you may need to check with the water department, because I know that they use that easement along the tracks for access road to the water department property.
As for the backside of the parking garage that faces the train tracks, I didn't mind the look of those panels that are there now, but perhaps if you want to go more toward an art direction, maybe something more sculptural, maybe more interesting, but yet not, obtrusive in any way. That one got answered. That one got answered. You asked about the quality. I think the design is quality. I can't judge materials on a piece of paper. So when we get down to nitty gritty and, materials boards and all that, I could make more comments about the quality of the actual design. And I want to emphasize one more time that the hotel is going to be a separate project. They're related, but it's going to be separate. When we're talking about this project, we got to stay focused on this project. When the hotel comes, we can talk about the hotel. But I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Davis?
If I
Yeah,
may
go-
add on,
No.
thank you. Just to add on to that backside of the garage, the other thing to think about is that, Center Street is one where the residents in the neighborhood behind Marina Vista neighborhood will drive through to get to their homes. So going and coming. And so it would be nice to have it be a little more attractive, not just for, I wasn't really thinking even so much of the commuters on the train looking out, but for people driving out from their neighborhoods, that might be, that's another reason why I think it would be nice to have something, make it look attractive.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm just harping again on the EVA access to the parking garage. Again, it's good to think about other utility access like sanitation, garbage trucks. If you have the second egress in the back or second access from the back by the railroad tracks, then you don't have a big garbage truck pulling into the garage to everyone else's access, and you have services and whatever other utilities you need back there.
Okay. That's it from everybody. Okay. So thank you, Anton. Thank you for the presentation tonight. Thank you, staff, for working with the developer to bring this project in front of us tonight. Okay. So that wraps 9B. Does any commissioner wish to make any comments tonight for commission comments?
If I may, just one quick one.
Yes, please, Ms. Joe.
This is, Jean. I just wanted to say thank you for the minutes. I know it's been a long time coming, but I actually think that the format was good, and for the most part, it was good. So thank you for that, and hopefully we will be on track from now on. So thank you.
Well done, Bernadette. Thank you so very much. Thank you for catching up for all of us.
You're on mute.
Felt good.
You should be. You should be. Anyone else? Ms. Davis.
I just want to thank the staff for all that they're doing for us, for all these projects, and the city in general. I think the city of Millbrae is doing a great job communicating about rules and regs and way to stay safe and everything related to our pandemic. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Wong, Ms. Quick, anything? Nothing from Ms. Quick? Mr. Wong, would you?
Just thank you, everybody, for putting together these presentations and continuing to work through the pandemic. Looks like everyone's doing a great job.
Great. Yeah, so very nice project. I'm glad that it's, I'm glad we have a project coming up for the Rancho site. We look forward to seeing the remainder of the project. Hopefully we can put something together that the whole community can be proud of. Bernadette, you want to say something?
I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm sorry, Commissioner Wong, but some of your stuff went in and out, and I'm sure the recording is going to be the same. If you could throw me down some notes, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
Just some basic stuff. I don't need you, but I need your points, I think, because you lost me on numerous occasions and I didn't want to keep interrupting you.
Okay.
I had a hard time catching most of his also.
Yeah, I think not just Commissioner Wong, but I think some of the applicant earlier as well. Mr. Metzger also a little difficult as well. So,
Yes.
For some of the things that he said earlier, if he can help send in some notes, that would be helpful, Mr. Metzger.
I'm seriously concerned about Commissioner Wong, because of his presentation and,
I'll send you some notes for a minute.
Thank you so much.
Linda, was very clear.
Very
Linda,
good.
you did a great job.
Oh, thanks very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I know
Thank
this is
you.
not, this is not a small project, and so thank you for working hard on that and bringing it in front of us. And
Yeah,
Mr.
happy
Moss,
to do it.
great. Any other announcements we'd like to make? Anybody? If you raise your hand, I may not be able to see everybody on one screen, so that's why it's a little difficult. Go ahead and speak up. Nothing from Ms. Joe? Ms. Quick?
No, everything is great.
Everything's good? Mr. Wong?
I guess just this, maybe if you can hear me, just a sign of the times that we're in, the COVID shelter in place. It looks like they're starting to remove some restrictions for some businesses. Make sure to check San Mateo County websites. San Francisco, I believe they're allowing outdoor activities, a lot of exercise, golf, and a lot of restaurants are asking if they can do outdoor seating because just latest news is that COVID spread is less likely if you're outdoors rather than inside with a lot of people. So hoping that we can all use good practice and fight off this pandemic and get people back working.
Thank you, Commissioner Wong. Anything from Commissioner Davis? No, thank you. Okay, I guess we're done.
Oh, happy Memorial Day next week for everybody. So it's a holiday.
Oh, yeah, next week, Ms. Joe?
Next Monday. Yeah.
You mean we
Next
can,
Monday.
like, we can stay home?
You can stay home with your family.
Have a long
So
weekend?
enjoy that time. It is I'm trying to keep like days and holidays and all of that, weekends, trying to keep that normalcy. So
Why
next
not?
week is a holiday. So happy Memorial Day, everybody.
I look forward to getting a haircut.
Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Everybody.
Meeting
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Thank you, commissioners. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.